The printing press. Imagine a world where knowledge is a precious gem, locked away within the minds of a select few, painstakingly copied by hand into the tomes of ancient scribes. A scholar, laboring in solitude, spends years crafting a single manuscript that may never be read by anyone outside the cloisters. But then, a revolutionary invention emerges from the shadows of this literary confinement, the printing press. As its gears turn, a new era dawns, unleashing a torrent of ideas that will reshape civilization forever. This is the dilemma of the printing press, a profound philosophical inquiry into the nature of knowledge, power, and the boundaries of human thought. In its wake, one must ponder, what happens when access to information is democratized? Is knowledge a collective right, or does it belong primarily to the elite? This question resonates deeply in modern society as we navigate the digital age of the internet, social media, and information overload. The printing press, invented by Johannes Gutenberg in the mid-15th century, was the harbinger of the Renaissance and the Reformation. It enabled the rapid dissemination of texts, breaking the stranglehold the church and the aristocracy had over knowledge. Philosophers like John Locke embraced this shift, believing that the first step toward enlightenment and progress was ensuring that knowledge was accessible to all. In Locke's view, the proliferation of printed matter would foster reason, individualism, and the pursuit of happiness. Yet this newfound freedom to read and write also birthed dilemmas. With vast arrays of ideas circulating, the question arose, whose voices would be amplified? Not all printed works have uplifted humanity. Some have incited violence, spread misinformation, and perpetuated prejudices. The philosopher Michel Foucault posited that knowledge is not merely empowering, but also a tool of control. For every enlightened soul, there may be another misled down a path of ignorance or hatred. Could unchecked access to information create more harm than good? In an age dominated by digital platforms, the echoes of the printing press are all around us. The beauty of knowledge remains, but so too does the chaos of misinformation. As we scroll through feeds filled with personal opinions masquerading as facts, the challenges of distinguishing truth from falsehood fundamentally mirror those posed by the printing press centuries ago. The very act of sharing information has blurred the lines of authority and expertise, prompting us to ask anew, how do we navigate a world where every voice can be amplified, and yet discerning truth seems ever more elusive? As we consider the implications of the printing press, we must confront our relationship with knowledge itself. Does democratization create responsibility? With the right to access information comes the duty to assess it critically. Philosophers such as Hannah Arendt suggest that the proliferation of ideas fuels reflection and dialogue, yet she warned against it leading to an era of unthinking consensus, where individuals consume information without discerning its quality or truth. In this quiet moment of reflection, we invite you to ponder the consequences of the printing press. Has it truly liberated us, or has it merely shifted the hierarchies of knowledge? Are we wiser for our ability to share ideas, or do we risk drowning in a sea of opinions devoid of substance? As we stand on the precipice of yet another transformation in how we access and interpret information, we remind ourselves that the questions may be as essential as the answers. In exploring the legacies of past innovations, we shape the future of human thought and connection, a journey that's far from over. The scientific method. Imagine standing on the shore, gazing at the vastness of the ocean. Each wave whispers secrets of the universe, Yet your curiosity ignites an insatiable need for understanding. How deep does it go? What lies beneath the surface? These questions embody the spirit of exploration that has driven humanity for centuries. The scientific method emerges as our vessel, a structured approach guiding us through uncertainty. Yet it raises fundamental questions about knowledge itself. How do we know what we think we know? In its essence, the scientific method propels us through a cyclical journey of observation, hypothesis, experimentation, and analysis. Grounded in empirical evidence, it strives for objectivity in a world fraught with bias and belief. Consider Francis Bacon and his emphasis on inductive reasoning. He viewed observation as the cornerstone of knowledge. Bacon's approach to systematic inquiry pushed the boundaries of medieval thought, urging humanity to seek truth through nature itself, an idea as revolutionary as it was transformative. Yet, against this backdrop of order lies a tension with philosophical skepticism, illuminated by the likes of René Descartes. Descartes famously questioned everything. How do I know that I am not dreaming? His method of radical doubt invites us to examine not just what we know, but how we come to know it. The scientific method, then, might appear as an authoritative framework, yet its very foundation depends on assumptions we accept as axiomatic. Are we not, then, still prisoners of our perceptions? Modern-day challenges complicate the scientific landscape. Consider the complexities of climate change, where scientific consensus conflicts with political conviction. A myriad of data points persists, validated through rigorous experimentation and peer review, yet beliefs often dissolve into rhetoric. Here we encounter the philosophical issue of the demarcation problem, articulated by Karl Popper. He posited that for a theory to be scientific, it must be falsifiable, capable of being proven wrong. Yet does this standard inadvertently dismiss valuable insights that don't easily fit into such a rigid framework? The impact of sociocultural paradigms on scientific inquiry invites contemplation too. When scientists operate within a dominant worldview, can their findings ever be entirely objective? Feminist epistemologists like Sandra Harding stress that knowledge is shaped by social contexts, raising an unsettling inquiry. Whose voices are marginalized in the pursuit of truth? The scientific method, while a beacon of progress, also reflects the biases of its time, and this interplay of power and knowledge warrants examination. As we navigate this intricate web of understanding, we come upon the limitations of the scientific method itself. Is it capable of addressing deep existential questions or moral dilemmas? Consider the ethical implications of scientific discoveries, from genetics to artificial intelligence. Must we rely solely on empirical evidence to dictate our moral compass, or can philosophy and ethics inform our understanding of what constitutes good? Invite yourself to linger in this reflective space. The scientific method, with its promise of clarity and discovery, challenges us to consider both the vast expanse of what we know and the profound depths of what we do not. As we seek answers, let us hold on to the tension between our thirst for knowledge and the mysteries that continue to elude us. In doing so, we may find ourselves on a never-ending journey, navigating the shores of understanding, eternally curious, eternally wandering. What mysteries will you choose to explore next? Evolution by natural selection. Imagine a remote island, isolated from the world, where diverse flora and fauna thrive. Over generations, some species flourish, while others dwindle, adapting to the island's changing environment. a small, brightly colored bird, develops a longer beak, allowing it to sip nectar from a rare flower that provides abundant sustenance. Meanwhile, its less adaptable counterparts struggle to find food, ultimately facing extinction. This scenario subtly nudges us toward a profound question. Is life, with all its complexity and beauty, merely a product of chance and survival, or does it hold deeper meaning? At its core, the theory of evolution by natural selection, first articulated by Charles Darwin in the 19th century, challenges us to reconsider the nature of existence. It posits that individuals with favorable traits are more likely to survive and reproduce, passing those traits to future generations. But as we explore this concept, we find ourselves in a philosophical dilemma. Does evolution imply a purposeless universe governed solely by chance? Or could it suggest something more profound about our place in the world? Darwin's observations prompted a wave of philosophical inquiry, engaging thinkers such as Friedrich Nietzsche, who controversially suggested that life itself is an assertion of will and power, devoid of intrinsic purpose. On the opposite end, proponents of teleological arguments see directionality in evolution, believing that life has an ultimate aim or design. Could the adaptive features of species indicate an underlying intention, a cosmic hand guiding life's relentless march toward complexity? Yet, like the island bird, we grapple with the implications of existence, shaped by random mutations and environmental pressures. What does it mean to be human? If our thoughts and emotions arose through a nebulous process without foresight, many argue that contemplating our evolutionary roots does not diminish the richness of human experience. Instead, it invites a deeper appreciation for the intricacies of life. The very act of pondering our existence might seem a miraculous product of evolution, a cognitive leap that allows introspection and creativity. In contemporary society, evolution by natural selection has become not merely a scientific principle, but a lens through which we examine our moral and ethical frameworks. Does the idea of survival of the fittest justify social Darwinism, or does it compel us to show compassion and nurture those who struggle? Our efforts to protect endangered species could be seen as a rejection of harsh natural laws, the desire to preserve life, even when it conflicts with nature's drive for efficiency. The exploration of evolution continues to resonate with modern dilemmas. As we confront issues like climate change and biodiversity loss, we must reflect on how our actions align with the principles of adaptation and survival we've inherited. Are we, as a species, adapting wisely to the challenges we face, or are we hastening our own decline? As you ponder these questions, consider where your own beliefs lie on this spectrum between chance and purpose. Is life's meaning embedded in its evolutionary history, or does it exist beyond what the natural world can explain? The journey through evolution by natural selection unveils not just the origins of species, but perhaps more importantly, the depths of our human spirit, inviting you to continue reflecting on life's mysteries, where answers may be elusive, but the questions profound. The Theory of Relativity. Consider a serene moment as you lie on a grassy hillside, gazing up at the vast sky above. You notice the clouds drifting softly, one moment here, the next, gone before your eyes. This raises a gentle yet profound question. Is the passage of time the same for everyone, or does it bend and stretch depending on our position, our speed, our very state of being. This is the essence of Einstein's theory of relativity, a framework that not only reshaped physics, but also invites us to reflect deeply on our understanding of time, space, and existence. At its core, the theory of relativity introduces the idea that time is not an absolute entity, fixed and unchanging. Instead, it's malleable, intertwined with the fabric of space itself. According to special relativity, the faster we move through space, the slower we travel through time. Imagine identical twins. One stays on Earth, while the other embarks on a journey through space at near light speed. Upon returning, the traveling twin discovers years have passed, while their sibling ages normally. This strange phenomenon prompts us to ponder the nature of reality and how our experiences shape our perception of time. Yet, as we contemplate this paradox, we find contrasting philosophical perspectives. Henri Bergson, for example, drew a distinction between measurable time, the scientific notion of time, and lived time, the subjective experience that unfolds within human consciousness. He argued that while the clock ticks steadily, our perception of time can stretch, compress, or warp, depending on emotional experiences and memories. For Bergson, time is not merely a dimension, but a rich tapestry woven from human experience. In today's world, the implications of relativity surface in unexpected places. Consider the technology of GPS, essential for navigation. Satellites orbiting the Earth experience time differently due to their speed and gravitational field compared to someone standing on the ground. Without accounting for this relativistic effect, GPS systems would quickly lead us astray, illustrating how connected the abstract theories of physics are to our daily lives. Relativity also stirs questions about the very nature of reality. Is it fixed and objective, or is it a perception filtered through individual human experiences? Philosophers like Immanuel Kant argued that our understanding of the universe is shaped by the frameworks we impose upon it. Could it be that our grasp of motion, time, and space is merely a lens colored by our experiences and consciousness? As night falls and the stars emerge, beholding their distant flickers compels us to dive even deeper into the mysteries of existence. Are we merely observers in a vast, indifferent universe? Or do our thoughts and feelings shape the contours of reality itself? Do the consequences of relativity hint at a world where everything is connected, vibrating in a delicate balance of time and space? These reflections open corridors of contemplation, inviting us to embrace a world where time stretches and compresses, where experiences mold our understanding. The theory of relativity is not just an abstract scientific idea. It's a mirror reflecting the multitude of ways we encounter existence. As you find comfort in the quietude of night, let the question linger. What does it mean to experience time uniquely, and how does that shape your journey through life? Perhaps the exploration of this question is just as significant as the answers we seek. The Internet. Imagine a vast, shimmering landscape stretching endlessly in every direction, a digital expanse filled with the hopes, fears, and dreams of billions. In this realm, voices can echo across continents, thoughts can bloom in an instant, and connections can flourish before our very eyes. Yet, amidst this marvel lies a profound dilemma. Has the Internet bridged the gap between humanity, or has it created a chasm? The Internet, an embodiment of human innovation, serves as a platform for ideas, creativity, and expression. It allows us to communicate across borders, access a wealth of knowledge, and find community in ways that were once unimaginable. Thinkers like Marshall McLuhan suggested that the medium fundamentally transforms our interactions and perceptions. Today, we see how social media shapes our realities and influences political landscapes, shifting the way we engage with the world. However, lurking beneath this surface of connectivity are critical questions. Is the vastness of the Internet a reflection of true freedom, or does it confine us within echo chambers of our own making? Philosophers like Friedrich Nietzsche might suggest that our digital branded identities reflect a fracturing rather than a unity. They spark an illusion of individuality while tethering us to algorithms and trends that dictate our choices. Take a moment to consider the pervasive nature of misinformation. In an age where anyone can publish without scrutiny, the fabric of truth feels increasingly fragile. The Internet empowers voices that might have been silenced, but it can also amplify dangerous narratives. Plato's allegory of the cave comes to mind. Just as the prisoners mistook shadows for reality, are we now overwhelmed by digital reflections that obscure truth? And what of solitude? In a world where connection is just a blink away, many find themselves more isolated than ever, scrolling through curated lives that magnify their own feelings of inadequacy. Is this paradox a reflection of our modern existence? Soren Kierkegaard, who wrote extensively about the human condition, would likely suggest that our engagement with the Internet complicates our quest for authentic selfhood. Are we losing parts of ourselves to these digital facades we carefully construct? Yet, it would be misguided to frame the Internet as entirely good or bad. It exists as a multifaceted tool that illuminates the complexities of our humanity. The rise of online activism exemplifies how the Internet can galvanize movements, bringing global attention to pressing injustices. The Black Lives Matter movement, catalyzed through social media, spurred discussions that demand societal change. Perhaps in this digital age, we find ourselves in a philosophical experiment, grappling with the paradox of connection and estrangement. As we navigate this expansive digital landscape, we are invited to reflect on how we engage with it. Are we passive consumers, absorbing whatever flows through our feeds, or active participants in a broader dialogue? The philosopher Hannah Arendt pointed out the dangers of silent complicity. Perhaps we must question our own silence in the face of disinformation, division, and injustice. Ultimately, the Internet stands as a mirror reflecting our greatest aspirations and most profound flaws. Will it serve as a platform for communal growth, a catalyst for understanding, or will it lead us further into isolation and misinformation? These questions linger, inviting us to engage with the Internet thoughtfully, to be aware of both its potential and its pitfalls. As we drift through this digital landscape, may we continue to seek connections that deepen our understanding of ourselves and one another, leaving us with a lingering sense of wonder about the paths we choose to traverse. Germ theory of disease. Imagine walking through a bustling market, a place vibrant with the colors of fresh produce and the sounds of lively conversations. Now consider the unseen world around you. Billions of microorganisms teeming in the air, on the food, and even on the skin of the people nearby. These tiny entities exist beyond the realm of human perception. Yet, they profoundly influence our health, sometimes leading to illness and even death. As you stroll through this market, consider, what if these microorganisms are the true architects of disease, responsible for ailments that have shattered lives throughout human history. This thought leads us into the philosophical implications of germ theory, the idea that certain diseases are caused by specific microorganisms. Developed in the 19th century, it transformed medicine by shifting the understanding of illness from humors and miasmas to pathogens. Yet, behind this scientific progress lies a deeper inquiry into our perception of health, causality, and the interconnectedness of life. The rise of germ theory brought forth contrasting philosophical perspectives. Before its acceptance, many subscribed to miasma theory, which attributed illness to bad air and environmental factors. Philosophers like Aristotle believed in a balance of elements, where health was the product of harmony between bodily fluids. Germ theory's implication that invisible agents could disrupt this balance invited a radical rethinking of our relationship with the environment and our bodies. One might ponder if germ theory reduced the complexity of illness to mere biology, sidelining the contextual factors of human experience. Can a phenomenon so deeply nuanced, reliant on social conditions, mental health, and even access to healthcare, be solely attributed to germs? Michel Foucault argued that the discourse surrounding illness and health reflects societal structures and power dynamics, suggesting that germ theory does not exist in a vacuum. Rather, it interacts with social constructs and cultural beliefs, forming a complex labyrinth where science and philosophy intertwine. Modern-day relevance comes into sharp focus when considering our current global health crises. The COVID-19 pandemic illuminated how interconnected we are, showing that the spread of disease transcends borders and social classes. As we grapple with vaccination, public health policies, and personal freedoms, we are invited to reflect on our ethical responsibilities, both to ourselves and to one another. Are we merely individuals, or do we exist within a community where our health is interdependent? Moreover, the unfolding of germ theory also raises questions about the implications of advancements in biotechnology and genetic engineering. As scientists delve deeper into the microbiome, the vast community of microorganisms living in harmony within us, should we embrace this biological complexity or fear the unknown? Does our understanding of microorganisms empower us with the wisdom to enhance life? Or does it place us in a precarious position of playing God, tampering with the fundamental elements of our existence? As we drift through this exploration of germ theory, we find ourselves at the crossroads of scientific understanding and philosophical inquiry. Perhaps the quiet contemplation of our health leads us to a profound realization that we are all part of a delicate weave of interrelationships with the living world around us. The lesson of germ theory may not solely be about the microorganisms that invade our bodies, but about recognizing our responsibility to care for the health of our community and environment. So, as we ponder the unseen forces that shape our lives, we invite you to reflect on this. In a world where we are constantly learning about the intricate dance between humans and microorganisms, how can we navigate this relationship with empathy and wisdom, ensuring that our quest for knowledge also leads to compassion? Democracy. Imagine the small village where everyone gathers in the town square before the sun sets. Each person steps forward to voice their desires, hopes, and fears, while others listen intently. At the end of the day, they cast votes on decisions that will influence their lives. This scene evokes fundamental questions about democracy. Can every voice truly count? What happens when the majority rules at the expense of the minority? How do we balance individual freedoms with collective decision-making? democracy presents a profound philosophical dilemma that has captivated thinkers for centuries. At its core, it relies on the principle of representation, the idea that each person is entitled to a say in governance. Yet this raises critical questions. Is the will of the majority always just? What happens if a majority desires to infringe upon the rights of others? These concerns were notably addressed by philosophers such as John Stuart Mill, who argued for the protection of individual liberties against the tide of public opinion. Mill believed that the pursuit of one's own happiness should never be sacrificed to the whims of the majority, as this could lead to a form of tyranny. Contrastingly, thinkers like Socrates questioned whether the average citizen possesses the knowledge and wisdom to make informed decisions about governance. In Plato's dialogues, Socrates argues that democracy can lead to mob rule, where decisions are based not on rational discourse, but on emotion and popularity. This tension between expertise and broad-based participation remains relevant today. As we navigate the complexities of social media, misinformation, and populist movements, who is better equipped to lead? Those with knowledge or the collective voice of the people? Modern democracies often grapple with these dilemmas. Political polarization creates echo chambers where people are less willing to empathize with opposing viewpoints. We find ourselves in a world where democratic ideals clash with societal divisions, culminating in environments where the voices of marginalized groups can be silenced, despite formal voting rights. This paradox compels us to reflect on the purpose of democracy itself. Is it merely a mechanism for governance, or a path to fostering a greater sense of community, understanding, and mutual respect? The practice of democracy requires ongoing vigilance and adaptation. As philosopher Hannah Arendt cautioned, the failure to engage actively in public life leads to the erosion of our democratic ideals. The responsibility to participate, to engage thoughtfully and compassionately with fellow citizens, shapes the essence of a democratic society. Yet the challenge remains: how do we maintain this engagement in an increasingly fragmented world? At the heart of this journey towards a deeper understanding of democracy lies an essential question. Can a system built on individual interests and collective choices ever reconcile the divergent desires and fears of its constituents? Can we create a democracy that honors both the voice of the majority and the fundamental rights of the minority? As we ponder these complexities, we are left with an open invitation to explore the nature of democracy in our own lives. What kind of democratic society do we wish to cultivate? How do we balance the desires of many with the dignity of each? The answers may elude us, but the inquiry invites us to continue engaging, challenging ourselves and others toward a more reflective and compassionate understanding of governance and community. Quantum mechanics. Imagine a world where particles exist in two states at once, where the act of observing something can change its very nature. Picture a tiny electron that can be in multiple places simultaneously until we check its location. This paradoxically strange reality is the realm of quantum mechanics, a profound and perplexing framework that challenges our very understanding of existence itself. At the heart of quantum mechanics lies the famous thought experiment known as Schrödinger's cat. Picture a cat sealed in a box with a radioactive atom, a Geiger counter, and a vial of poison. According to the principles of quantum mechanics, until someone opens the box and observes the cat, it exists in a superposition of being both alive and dead. This bizarre scenario encapsulates the philosophical dilemma of observation and reality. Are we, as observers, fundamentally altering the state of the universe just by looking at it? Philosophers and physicists alike grapple with the implications of quantum mechanics. Albert Einstein famously resisted the concept of quantum entanglement, asserting, "God does not play dice with the universe." He believed in a deterministic universe, where the future can be precisely predicted if the present is fully understood. Contrastingly, Niels Bohr embraced quantum uncertainty, suggesting that chance and probability underpin our reality. This philosophical schism remains central in discussions about the nature of existence. The interpretive debates surrounding quantum mechanics evoke thoughts on free will, consciousness, and the nature of reality itself. Some scholars propose that our perception shapes the universe, echoing the ideas of phenomenology, which suggests reality is contingent upon human experience. If particles can exhibit wave-like properties until observed, what does this say about our own reality? Are our thoughts and decisions merely quantum effects, yet to find form and clarity until we grasp them in consciousness? When we delve into the modern-day implications of quantum mechanics, the connections become even deeper. Quantum computing, a burgeoning field, harnesses the principles of superposition and entanglement to process information in ways unimaginable with classical computers. As we stand on the brink of technological breakthroughs, we are left pondering the ethical responsibilities that accompany such power. If we can manipulate quantum systems, will we understand the consequences of our actions at this infinitesimal scale? Moreover, the allure of quantum mechanics draws comparisons to spiritual and mystical experiences. The interconnectedness hinted at in quantum entanglement resonates with philosophies suggesting a unity of all existence. If particles can be linked across vast distances, does this imply a deeper, unseen fabric connecting all life? As we traverse this enchanting yet bewildering terrain, one question lingers. What does it mean to exist in a universe that operates on principles so contrary to our everyday understanding? The uncertainty and duality inherent in quantum mechanics invite us to reflect on our own nature as observers and participants in the cosmos. The deeper we explore, the more we confront the mystery of existence itself, a mystery that perhaps remains beautifully unresolved. Where will your reflections take you as you contemplate the dance of particles in this quantum realm? Artificial intelligence. Imagine a world where machines not only assist us in our daily tasks, but also make decisions about our lives, choosing our entertainment, guiding our relationships, and even managing our health. An AI, having analyzed vast amounts of data, determines with precision the best course of action for us, customizing experiences to suit our preferences. In such a world, we are left to wonder, if machines can learn and predict so seamlessly, where does human agency fit into the equation? The emergence of artificial intelligence presents us with profound philosophical questions about the essence of consciousness, the nature of intelligence, and the ethics of our increasing reliance on technology. Are we, as humans, merely intricate biological computers, or is there something deeper at play in our decision-making processes? This dilemma has drawn the attention of many thinkers, pushing us to reevaluate our understanding of what it means to be human. At the heart of this inquiry is a distinction explored by the likes of René Descartes, who posited that thinking is the essence of being. He argued that humans possess a conscious mind, a subjective experience that allows us to reflect and consider our choices. Conversely, many contemporary philosophers argue that AI systems, no matter how advanced, remain devoid of true understanding and consciousness. John Searle's Chinese room argument illustrates this point. An AI might pass a Turing test by convincingly simulating understanding, yet it does not truly comprehend the meanings behind the words it processes. Yet AI's advancement poses questions about our own human identity. Are we defined solely by our cognitive capabilities, or does our emotional depth, our ability to empathize and connect, set us apart? Some argue that machines, though mathematically sophisticated, lack the human experience that brings richness to decisions. Philosophers like Martin Heidegger suggest that our being in the world involves layers of context, emotion, and relationality that an algorithm simply cannot replicate. In practical terms, as we continue to integrate AI into our lives, be it through algorithms that recommend our next book or systems that analyze our medical data, underscored ethical dilemmas emerge. Who is responsible when AI makes a mistake? Can we trust machines to act in our best interest when they are programmed by fallible humans? As AI systems learn and adapt, do we risk being reduced to mere data points, stripped of our autonomy? The implications extend into profound societal shifts as well. With the rise of intelligent machines, the nature of work itself is challenged. As automation becomes more capable, we must ask, what will it mean to work in a world where AI performs many tasks better than humans? Will we find greater freedom in newfound leisure? Or will this lead to dislocation and existential questioning about our purpose? Ultimately, the questions raised by artificial intelligence invite us into a contemplative space, a space where we must ponder not only the potential and limitations of AI, but also the very fabric of our humanity. How do we define intelligence, consciousness, and identity in the age of machines designed to think? As we navigate this landscape, we find ourselves standing at the intersection of technology and humanity, challenged to reflect on what it means to be alive, aware, and capable of choice. As we conclude our exploration of artificial intelligence, we are left with an open-ended mystery. Can a creation of our own design truly reflect our essence, or does the shadow of our humanity forever elude the grasp of machines? In this delicate balance, the question remains, what do we wish for our future? A world enriched by our creations, or one where the essence of being human is forever altered? Renewable energy. Imagine a world where the air is clean, the oceans teem with life, and energy is abundant yet gentle on the planet. Picture a bustling city powered entirely by sunlight, wind, and water, where energy flows freely from the sun's rays, the wind's whispers, and the movement of rivers. In this serene vision, the grim shadow of fossil fuels no longer darkens our skies, and the threat of climate change becomes a distant memory. This is the enchanting promise of renewable energy. But what lies beneath this alluring surface? What philosophical dilemmas spring forth as we grapple with the transition to a future that is sustainable and harmonious? At the crux of our exploration lies a profound ethical question. Should we prioritize immediate economic benefits or commit to the long-term health of our planet? This dilemma echoes the thoughts of philosophers such as John Stuart Mill, who championed utilitarianism, the idea that the morally right action is the one that maximizes overall happiness. In this light, proponents of renewable energy argue that transitioning away from fossil fuels not only protects the environment, but also improves public health, creates jobs, and fosters innovation. The implication is clear. A renewable future might yield greater happiness for humanity as a whole. Yet, the path towards this sustainable paradise is littered with obstacles. Critics might point to the economic challenges posed by such a transition, invoking the principles of ethical egoism, suggesting that individuals or corporations ought to act in their own self-interest. For those whose livelihoods depend on fossil fuels, the shift to renewable energy may feel less like a promise and more like a threat. How do we weigh the happiness of the many against the immediate survival of the few? Is it justifiable to advocate for a greener world when it comes at a personal cost to some, risking their livelihoods? The discourse around renewable energy also invokes the thoughts of Immanuel Kant, who emphasized the intrinsic worth of each individual. From this perspective, we might argue that every person, regardless of their situation, should be considered in the transition to a more sustainable energy source. Is it right to leave some behind in the quest for collective well-being? Can we ensure a just transition that gives voice to those impacted, allowing them to partake in the benefits of renewable technologies? As we ponder the implications of renewable energy, we must also confront another philosophical conundrum: the concept of progress itself. Are we truly moving forward, or are we simply reshaping the same patterns? The transition to renewable energy poses not just a technical shift, but a fundamental rethinking of our relationship with nature. If we continue to exploit natural resources as a means to fuel progress, we're left to wonder whether a renewed reliance on renewable energy can lead to a deeper harmony with the Earth, or if it merely replicates the same patterns of consumption cloaked in a new veneer. In this contemplative journey, we find ourselves standing at a precipice, faced with a multitude of paths diverging before us. The allure of a sustainable future whispers promises of prosperity and peace, yet it challenges us to grapple with the complexities of justice, equity, and the moral obligations we bear toward each other and our planet. The future of renewable energy invites us to reflect deeply. How can we foster a world that thrives on clean energy without compromising the dignity and lives of those who have powered our past? As we wander through this landscape of possibilities, the questions linger, urging us onward in our quest for understanding, knowing that the answers may always lie just beyond the horizon. Women's suffrage. Imagine a world where half of the population is denied a fundamental right, the right to vote, to have a voice in shaping the laws that govern their lives. This was the reality for women in many societies, where their opinions were deemed unworthy and their aspirations stifled. As we delve into the historical and philosophical underpinnings of women's suffrage, we might ask ourselves, what does it mean to be truly free in a society that silences half of its citizens? The quest for women's suffrage is not merely a struggle for voting rights. It transcends politics to touch the very essence of equality and human dignity. At the heart of this movement lies a profound philosophical dilemma. Can a democracy be just if it excludes a significant portion of its population? Historically, luminaries like John Stuart Mill championed the idea that individual liberty should extend to all, arguing that the subjection of women is wrong in itself and now one of the chief hindrances to human improvement. Yet, for centuries, women's voices were relegated to the margins, with societal norms binding them to the domestic sphere. Curiously, the fight for women's suffrage coincided with burgeoning ideas about human rights and social justice. Thinkers such as Mary Wollstonecraft ignited a spark in the late 18th century with her call for women's education and rights, suggesting that reason and moral capacity are not gendered. This philosophical assertion challenged patriarchy and questioned the very foundations of gender roles imposed by society. As suffragists rallied, they faced an array of contrasting perspectives, some arguing that women's inherent qualities made them unfit for political engagement, while others, like Susan B. Anthony, insisted that civic participation was crucial for a meaningful existence. The suffrage movement was not a monolith. It encompassed diverse voices and visions. While some advocated for gradual reforms through petitions and peaceful protests, others, like the militantly outspoken British suffragettes, adopted more confrontational tactics. This divergence of strategies raises essential questions about the ethics of activism. How far should one go to secure justice? Do the ends justify the means? Philosophers like Hannah Arendt, who explored the nature of political power and action, illustrate the complexity of these moral choices. Even today, the struggles for gender equality continue to evolve, as we witness debates around voting rights, representation, and systemic barriers that persist globally. The world's political landscapes remain rife with examples of disenfranchisement, underscoring the need for introspection regarding who holds power and who is left voiceless. What can we learn from history as we engage in contemporary dialogues about democracy and equality? As we reflect upon the suffrage movement, we might ponder, if democracy is predicated on participation, what sacrifices are we willing to make to ensure that every voice is heard? The history of women's suffrage not only serves as a powerful reminder of past injustices, but also an invitation to engage in a continuous struggle for a more equitable world. Questions linger, echoing through generations. How do we ensure that rights, once won, are protected? And most importantly, are we prepared to confront our own complicity in the systems that maintain silence? The narrative of women's suffrage is one of resilience, transformation, and relentless pursuit of justice, leaving us with a lingering responsibility to reflect on our own roles in the ongoing quest for equality, even as we settle into the quiet moments of contemplation. The theory of gravity. Imagine walking on a hilltop, feeling the gentle pull of the earth beneath your feet. The cool breeze whispers the secrets of the universe, as you gaze out upon a landscape held in perfect balance by an invisible force. Now, consider this. What if everything you know about gravity, this seemingly simple force drawing apples to the ground and holding planets in orbit, conceals a deeper philosophical dilemma? What if gravity is not merely a law of nature, but a complex metaphor for the connections that bind us to one another and the universe itself? At its core, gravity invites reflection on the very nature of existence. Sir Isaac Newton, the father of classical mechanics, articulated the laws governing gravity that explained the predictable movements of celestial bodies and earthly objects. His formulation raised profound questions. Does the universe operate on fixed, unchanging laws, or are these laws human constructs designed to make sense of our experience? Philosophers like Ernst Mach challenged the idea of absolute space, suggesting that our measurement of gravity is bound to the mass and motion of other objects, raising the possibility that our understanding of reality is interwoven with perception. Consider this. Is gravity simply an attraction, or does it point to profound interdependence? The realm of quantum physics introduces us to concepts like quantum entanglement, where particles remain intertwined regardless of distance, seemingly defying the very fabric of space. This challenges our conception of isolation, hinting that all things are interconnected in ways we are still trying to unravel. In our everyday lives, we see gravity reflected not only in physical motion, but in our relational dynamics as well. Consider how our emotional gravity draws us towards certain people, creating bonds that can lift us or weigh us down. Martin Buber, through his philosophy of dialogue, articulates the essence of relationships, emphasizing that existence is fundamentally relational. In this sense, gravity could symbolize the forces that link us, fostering a profound investigation into the nature of human connection. Yet what happens in a world where gravity is absent? Floating through a cosmos devoid of gravitational influence could illuminate the fragility of existence. The philosopher Michel Foucault explored how power dynamics shape our understanding of self within societal structures. If we view gravity as a metaphor for the societal pressures that anchor us, we are confronted with the freedom found in liberation from those ties. Does this freedom lead to choice or chaos? And would we genuinely crave that liberation, or would we long for the grounding presence of those earthly poles? As we drift through these reflections, we invite ourselves to ponder. Gravity is not confined to the realms of physics. It embodies a spectrum of philosophical inquiries about existence, connection, and freedom. Are we bound by forces we cannot see? And do these forces define the fabric of our lives? Or can we transcend those constraints, emerging into the vast unknown? Perhaps the only certainty is that, like gravity, life inevitably leads us back to questions that defy simple answers. As we navigate vibrant connections and consider the unseen forces at play, let us dwell in this wonder, reflecting on how we are all part of an intricate dance within the cosmos, anchored yet always reaching for the stars. Vaccination. Imagine a small town facing an outbreak of a contagious disease. The streets are filled with uncertainty as families grapple with a choice: to vaccinate their children, safeguarding them from potential harm, or to avoid vaccination, motivated by fears and beliefs they hold dear. The town becomes divided. Conversations turn heated, and friendships begin to fracture. Within this complex web of choices lies a profound philosophical question. What is the moral cost of individual choice in the face of collective responsibility? At the heart of vaccination debates is the tension between personal autonomy and the well-being of the larger community. John Stuart Mill, an advocate for individual liberty, would argue that people should have the freedom to make choices concerning their own bodies. However, he also emphasized that freedom comes with responsibility. Over himself, over his own body and mind, the individual is sovereign. In this light, should parental choices to reject vaccinations be honored, even if those choices may endanger other children, particularly those unable to be vaccinated for medical reasons? Yet, from a utilitarian perspective, which embodies the ideas of Mill and Jeremy Bentham, the ethical implication shifts. The collective good becomes paramount. A vaccinated populace results in herd immunity, a protective barrier against outbreaks. Should the right of the individual to choose not to vaccinate be superseded by the necessity to protect the vulnerable? In recent years, as misinformation has spread alongside COVID-19, the philosophical dilemma has become remarkably relevant. Some assert that questioning vaccinations stems from a noble pursuit of personal health autonomy, echoing Socratic principles of inquiry and individual conscience. However, others highlight the consequentialist view. Decisions grounded in inaccurate information can lead to public health crises, ultimately outweighing individual concerns. The discourse takes on new dimensions when considering the ethical implications of consent and whistleblowing. Should medical professionals be obliged to intervene when they suspect that a patient or parent is making an ill-informed choice that could harm others? Here, we touch upon the principles of beneficence and non-maleficence, which propel healthcare providers to act in the best interest of their patients and society. As we delve further, let us reflect on the emotional weight of these choices. The fear of the unknown can make vaccination seem threatening, while those who have witnessed the devastation of preventable diseases might ardently champion it. The philosopher Martha Nussbaum invites us to recognize the role of emotions in moral reasoning. Do we consider the suffering of others when weighed against our anxieties and doubts? Ultimately, the vaccination dilemma remains an intricate tapestry woven with threads of personal belief, collective health, and the deep-seated values that guide human action. As we navigate these waters, we are left with an essential question. How do we balance individual rights with our shared responsibility to protect one another in a society where the consequences of our choices ripple far beyond ourselves? In pondering this, we are encouraged to seek understanding and compassion, even amid disagreements, in hopes that our collective journey through this ethical landscape leads not to division, but to deeper reflection and connection. General theory of punctuation. Imagine reading a beautifully crafted sentence, rich with emotion and imagery, yet feeling overwhelmed, lost in a sea of words without pauses. The absence of punctuation distorts meaning, leaving the reader adrift in confusion. As we ponder the significance of punctuation, we are confronted with a deeper philosophical question. Can mere symbols shape our understanding of truth and human experience? Punctuation serves as a guiding compass, steering the reader through the landscape of language. Commas, periods, and semicolons are not merely decorative. They are vital signposts that dictate how we derive meaning from text. The philosopher Ludwig Wittgenstein posited that the limits of my language mean the limits of my world. Punctuation extends these limits, offering clarity and structure. Yet, consider the contrasting philosophical perspectives of existentialism, as articulated by Jean-Paul Sartre. In a world that is often chaotic and absurd, is it not possible that the absence of punctuation reflects the raw authenticity of life? Sartre might argue that a fully unpunctuated narrative allows for a more unfiltered expression of human experience. Could it be that the rush of thoughts, unencumbered by pauses, mirrors the way we truly feel? In modern-day communication, as we navigate the digital landscape of texts, tweets, and emails, the role of punctuation becomes increasingly pronounced. The nuance of a simple period or an ellipsis can signal a shift in tone or convey emotion that words alone cannot capture. A message ending with a period may feel abrupt or final, while one that concludes with a series of ellipses leaves an invitation for the reader to ponder, to wonder about what remains unsaid. In the context of emotional intelligence, our understanding of punctuation reflects our ability to connect. The pause of a comma can signify breath and reflection, mirroring our human need for space in conversation. What happens when we strip away these essential markers? Are we left with a sterile dialogue devoid of empathy? Or does it challenge us to infer meanings and intentions based solely on context? In literature, Authors like James Joyce have embraced unconventional punctuation, pushing boundaries to delve deeper into human consciousness. The stream of consciousness technique presents a turbulent flow of thoughts, often without traditional punctuation, compelling readers to engage with the text more actively. This raises the question, does the departure from standard punctuation lead us toward a truer understanding of the human psyche, or simply create further ambiguity? As we reflect on the significance of punctuation, we unveil a fundamental truth about language. It is both a tool for clarity and a canvas for interpretation. The delicate balance between structure and freedom encapsulates the complexity of human communication. Ultimately, the general theory of punctuation leaves us wondering, how do the symbols we choose, or choose to omit, shape our perception of reality? Just as language is a bridge to understanding one another, punctuation invites us to pause, reflect, and engage with the world around us. In the end, it is perhaps in this very invitation to contemplate that the true power of punctuation rests. The dilemma of cryptocurrency. Imagine a world where money is not just paper or coins, but digital tokens floating through the unseen ether of the internet. You can buy goods, transfer wealth across borders instantly, or even bypass traditional banking systems altogether. This is the world of cryptocurrency, where the essence of currency has morphed into a decentralized, impalpable form. But as we navigate this digital frontier, we must ponder, does this innovation empower or endanger society? At the heart of the cryptocurrency dilemma lies a complex interplay of freedom and responsibility. On one hand, proponents argue that cryptocurrencies give individuals unprecedented freedom over their finances. Influenced by the libertarian ideals of thinkers like Friedrich Hayek, cryptocurrencies promise a future where users can operate outside the constraints of government control and surveillance. The blockchain technology that underpins Bitcoin and others allows for transparent, public transactions that are immutable, a refreshing notion for those tired of the opacity of traditional banking. Yet there is a counterargument that challenges this seemingly utopian vision. With great freedom comes great responsibility, and the decentralized nature of cryptocurrencies has birthed a host of thorny issues, most notably the facilitation of illicit activities. From ransomware to money laundering, anonymous transactions can easily slip into the shadows of the web. Critics argue that without regulatory frameworks, cryptocurrencies might spiral into chaos, causing harm rather than empowering individuals. Philosophers like John Rawls have long argued for the need for justice and fairness in society. In this light, one must question, does cryptocurrency privilege the privileged? As early adopters and tech-savvy investors reap immense rewards, many marginalized individuals find themselves shut out of this digital gold rush, lacking the access and knowledge needed to participate. The promise of democratized finance can seem hollow if broad swathes of the population remain excluded. The risks associated with volatility further complicate the situation. Unlike traditional currencies, which tend to have stable values, cryptocurrencies can swing wildly in value, leading to both fortune and ruin. Such unpredictability raises questions rooted in utilitarian philosophy. Is it ethical to pursue profit through a system that can devastate the lives of ordinary individuals? Does the potential for wealth creation justify the risks involved? Furthermore, there is a looming environmental consideration. The high energy consumption of mining cryptocurrencies, like Bitcoin, has drawn the ire of environmentalists, posing ethical dilemmas about our responsibility toward the planet. When we envision a future propelled by new technologies, how do we balance innovation with sustainability? Are we in danger of creating a system but enriches a few while impoverishing the world. As we reflect upon cryptocurrency's dual nature, we unearth both its promises and its perils. Rather than providing definitive answers, the exploration of this financial revolution challenges us to consider our values as a society. Will it lead us toward a new age of empowerment and autonomy, or will it exacerbate existing inequalities and create division? In the end, the question lingers: what kind of world do we want to build? The path paved by cryptocurrency may unlock doors previously thought sealed, but it is up to us to determine whether we will step through with wisdom or recklessness. As you contemplate these ideas, allow them to resonate within you, prompting deeper inquiry and reflection on the intersection of technology, ethics, and our shared future. The personal computer. Imagine sitting in front of a screen that connects you to a world of infinite knowledge. With a few keystrokes, you can share your thoughts, create art, model simulations, or even hold virtual meetings with loved ones continents away. Yet beneath this marvel lies a philosophical dilemma. Has the convenience and power of the personal computer enhanced our humanity, or has it subtly undercut our essential experience of life? The essence of the personal computer, widely regarded as a gateway to the modern era, invites a contemplation on the nature of existence itself. The philosopher Martin Heidegger warned us of technological inframing, where technology becomes a lens that can distort our perception of reality. Are we becoming merely users of technology, tethered to our screens as we lose touch with the tactile world around us? From the philosophical perspective of existentialism, thinkers like Jean-Paul Sartre would suggest that these devices embody a contradiction. They offer boundless opportunities for self-expression and creativity, but risk trapping us in streams of information that lead to superficiality. When we lose ourselves in a digital landscape, does our identity form from our digital footprint, or does it perhaps dissolve into a cacophony of likes, comments, and decontextualized interactions? Yet, one might also consider the uplifting view explored by philosophers such as Marshall McLuhan, who believed that media, as extensions of ourselves, could foster deeper understanding and connection. Are personal computers not tools that expand our cognitive abilities, allowing for collaborative endeavors and disruptive innovations? They've empowered movements for social change, opened pathways to diverse perspectives, and nurtured communities that transcend geographical boundaries. But therein lies the tension. While personal computers can nurture human connection, they can also foster isolation. In a world where eye contact is often replaced by pixelated faces and the warmth of conversation is distilled into text messages, some urge us to question whether this corporate construct of connection is a genuine replacement for authentic human interaction. Consider the ethical implications surrounding our personal computers. Each click, every search, contributes to a vast web of data that shapes our digital identities. Renowned philosopher and technologist Sherry Turkle warns that this might lead to a scenario where we curate our lives for an audience, losing our capacity for deep reflection and vulnerability. In striving for constant engagement, do we sideline the quiet moments of introspection that ground our humanity? As we navigate this duality, we come to a poignant realization. Personal computers force us to confront our choices in an age defined by connectivity and detachment. The dilemma lies not purely in the device itself, but in how we engage with it. How do we strike a balance between embracing technology's potential while tending to our inner selves and our immediate realities? The reflections on the personal computer do not offer definitive answers, but but invite us to continuously explore our relationship with technology, identity, and existence. As we sit in front of these familiars, may we ponder their role in our lives. Is it a tool that empowers or a veil that obscures? The journey of self-discovery urges questions that echo across the digital landscape, inviting us to contemplate how we choose to ultimately connect, both with our machines and with one another. Social media. Imagine a world where the lines separating our lives and identities blur into a digital tapestry. Each moment, meaningful or mundane, is captured in snapshots, status updates, and streams of consciousness, all posted for our friends, followers, and sometimes complete strangers to see. In this world, what does it mean to truly connect? Are we forging genuine relationships, or are we curating versions of ourselves to fit within the confines of a digital screen? This is the dilemma of social media, a modern conundrum that raises profound questions about identity, authenticity, and community. Central to the discussion is the concept of the self. Philosopher Erving Goffman proposed that in social interactions, individuals present performances tailored to their audience. Social media amplifies this idea, allowing us to carefully curate our lives, editing out the unflattering moments and showcasing only the highlights. But in doing so, do we lose something essential about our humanity? On one hand, social media offers unprecedented opportunities for connection. Millions around the world can share their thoughts, art, and experiences, all with a click. No longer are we confined by geographical boundaries. Platforms like Instagram and Twitter can empower marginalized voices, fostering movements for social change. Yet, contrasting this is a growing awareness of the emotional toll that social media can impose. Studies suggest that the more we engage with these platforms, the more feelings of inadequacy and loneliness can arise. The philosopher Martin Heidegger warned of enframing, a way technology can limit our capacity to experience authenticity and presence in the world. Could social media be enframing our interactions, reducing them to mere likes and shares rather than human exchanges? Moreover, the phenomenon of echo chambers introduces another layer of complexity. As we engage with like-minded individuals, we risk falling into a trap where our views become unchallenged and further polarized. This is reminiscent of John Stuart Mill's call for genuine discourse, where opposing ideas would strengthen our beliefs. Instead, algorithms often prioritize engagement over enlightenment, creating pathways that limit meaningful dialogue. Yet, we cannot disregard the joy and comfort that social media can provide. As we follow friends, family, or even public figures, we can draw inspiration or solace from shared experiences. Philosopher Aristotle believed in the concept of community as a source of fulfillment, suggesting that shared happiness and mutual support form the core of human existence. Social media can foster these connections, making us feel less alone in our struggles, even as it complicates our understanding of what it means to be together. Ultimately, we are left pondering the impact of our digital lives. What do we sacrifice in seeking instant gratification through likes and shares? Are we navigating a new terrain of identity that balances authenticity with desirability? In our quest for connection, are we creating a tapestry of genuine relationships, or merely a facade woven with threads of curated moments? As we reflect on these questions, we must consider what role we want social media to play in our lives. Will we allow it to define our narratives or intentionally shape it to deepen our connections? The answers lie not in absolutes, but in the choices we make, remaining open to the various ways technology can both enrich and complicate our shared human experience. In the end, perhaps the most profound question remains: what does it mean to truly connect in a world that often feels overwhelmingly disconnected? The light bulb. Imagine a room illuminated by a single warm bulb, casting a gentle glow that dances over the walls, creating shadows that seem to whisper secrets of the universe. Now, ask yourself, what does it mean to truly see? The light bulb, a humble invention, transforms darkness into brightness, allowing us to perceive the world in ways we wouldn't otherwise. Yet, as we bask in its glow, we encounter a profound philosophical dilemma. Does this light reveal reality, or merely alter our perception of it? At first glance, the light bulb seems unequivocally positive. It extends our days, brightens our paths, and allows the creativity of the human spirit to flourish. Illuminated by its rays, we feel inspired to create art, explore ideas, and connect with others. Think of how our ancestors huddled around flickering flames. The invention of the light bulb has ushered us into new realms of productivity and innovation. Yet, with illumination comes a question: what is lost in the shadows? Plato, in his allegory of the cave, invites us to reflect upon this. Imagine prisoners, confined to a dark cave, observing shadows on the wall cast by objects behind them. They believe these shadows to be the entirety of reality. When one escapes to the outside world and witnesses the sun's brilliance, they realize that what they once knew was only a fraction of what exists. Here, the light bulb serves as both a tool for enlightenment and a reminder of our potential confinement. Are we illuminating our understanding, or merely casting shadows on deeper truths yet to be discovered? Contrasting Plato's vision, Friedrich Nietzsche posited that knowledge itself is a construct shaped by dominant perspectives. The light bulb may symbolize clarity, yet does it not also highlight how our understanding is confined to the light we choose to cast? Just as each bulb emits its hue, so too do our beliefs and values tint our perception of truth. Nietzsche invites us to question what we accept as reality. Do we simply accept the light we receive, or do we seek to illuminate hidden corners even when the brightness dares to discomfort us? In our modern world, the dilemma of the light bulb extends beyond metaphor. As we scroll through screens glowing with curated images and information, we grapple with the nature of enlightenment versus the consumption of unrealized perspectives. In this age of information, does the light we absorb truly enlighten us, or might it blind us to complexities and contradictions? Consider how the light bulb, while illuminating, also creates shadows. By choosing what to shed light on, we inadvertently cast aside portions of reality. What essential truths lie in the darkness, waiting for the courage to explore? It's a reminder that in our pursuit of clarity, we must embrace the uncertainties that accompany it. As you sit in your softly lit room, let this reflection linger in your mind. The light bulb illuminates not just our spaces, but also the contours of our understanding. Are we content to bask in its glow, or shall we dare to cast our questions into the shadows? The journey of enlightenment is not merely about gaining knowledge, but wrestling with the ambiguities that come from truly seeing. And in the end, perhaps the most profound questions remain in the dark, inviting us ever further on our quest for understanding. The telephone. Imagine, if you will, a calm evening in the comfort of your home as the gentle ring of a telephone breaks the silence. You pick up the receiver and hear a familiar voice on the other end. A friend, perhaps, someone you haven't spoken to in a while. In that moment, a single question arises. Is this simple device merely a tool for communication, or does it represent something far deeper about our connections and relationships? The telephone, in its unassuming form, poses a profound philosophical dilemma: the nature of communication itself. At face value, it serves as a bridge between individuals, shrinking the distances that separate us. However, it also invites us to contemplate the authenticity of our interactions. Martin Buber, a Jewish philosopher, articulated these thoughts eloquently, proposing the concept of I-thou relationships, where genuine connection arises through mutual recognition and presence. When we speak to someone over the telephone, are we fostering an I-thou relationship, or are we relegating our encounter to an I-it interaction, where the other becomes just a voice on the line rather than a whole person? Furthermore, the telephone underscores the nature of intimacy and distance in communication. With each dial tone, we draw closer to some while pushing others away. Think of those late-night conversations that unveil the nuances of our lives, or the casual check-in that feels superficial, leaving a lingering sense of hollow connection. Philosopher Alain de Botton suggests that modern technology often complicates rather than enriches our interactions. Is the telephone a conduit of genuine understanding, or does it simply serve as an illusion of closeness, masking the potential for true emotional engagement? In today's world, dominated by text messages and social media, the telephone's implications become even more pronounced. It offers a stark contrast to our digitally mediated exchanges, where emotions can be misinterpreted and intentions skewed through screens. Yet, in these moments, when we hear a friend's laughter or detect a tremor of sadness in their voice, we remind ourselves of the richness that voice communication brings, a deeper layer often lost in the avalanche of typed words. But let us also consider the paradox of choice inherent in the act of communicating through a telephone. While it grants us the power to connect with anyone, anywhere, it also cultivates anxiety, the pressure of maintaining relationships, the dread of missed connections, or the choosing of whom to call. Is this empowerment, or does it ultimately bind us? Existentialists like Jean-Paul Sartre would argue that this freedom comes laden with responsibility. Our choices in communication reflect our values and our commitments to others. So, as the conversation unfolds, both profound and mundane, we find ourselves enveloped in the symbolism of the telephone. It teeters on the edge of human connectivity and existential solitude, a constant reminder of our incessant quest for understanding and belonging. The device, once thought to simplify our relationships, unveils layers of complexity and invites questions about the essence of communication itself. As the call ends and you hang up, take a moment to reflect. What did the voice on the other end represent to you? Was it a genuine connection, or merely a flicker of human interaction in an age of complexity? The telephone, while a simple apparatus of sound, beckons us to delve deeper into the nature of our connections, reminding us that every call is an opportunity, a choice, and ultimately, a shared experience shaped by all those who listen. Let this linger in your thoughts as you ponder on the essence of connection in your life. The automobile. Imagine a serene countryside road, a ribbon of asphalt stretching towards the horizon, flanked by golden fields swaying gently in the breeze. You are in a car, windows down, the wind flowing through your hair. As you drive, the world transforms around you, a canvas of landscapes, the freedom of the open road promising adventure. Yet this scene invites a question. In our pursuit of mobility and convenience, have we inadvertently chained ourselves to a machine that defines our existence? The automobile, a marvel of engineering, represents both freedom and entrapment. It allows us to traverse great distances, enabling connections and experiences that would otherwise remain just beyond our reach. Yet this very convenience fosters a dependency that restricts our movements when we step away from its steering wheel. We become accustomed to our cars, often prioritizing them over more communal forms of transportation, bus systems, bicycles, or simply walking. This raises a philosophical dilemma. Is our relationship with the automobile one of liberation or bondage? The existentialists, such as Jean-Paul Sartre, might suggest that the automobile embodies the essence of choice. We are free to choose how we navigate our lives, yet this freedom often comes at a cost. The choice of driving in our own bubble may isolate us, diminishing our engagement with the world around us. Are we truly living or merely existing within our metal confines? Sartre's idea of bad faith describes how we often deceive ourselves into believing we have choices, even when the structure of modern life pushes us into certain paths. On the other hand, consider the perspective of utilitarianism, espoused by philosophers like John Stuart Mill. The convenience of the automobile provides a level of satisfaction and pleasure that maximizes utility for society at large. For many, the car symbolizes progress, leading to wealth, exploration, and innovation. Yet, this pleasure can come at a significant cost: environmental degradation, traffic accidents, and social isolation. Is the environmentally damaging consequence of our convenience a fair trade-off for the perceived benefits of individual autonomy? Modern technology offers further complications to this philosophical landscape. The advent of electric vehicles and autonomous driving presents a flicker of hope, a move towards sustainable and technologically advanced modes of transport. Do these innovations mitigate the underlying dilemmas? If we achieve a society driven by machines that transport us effortlessly, does it deepen our connection to technology or further entrench our reliance on it? In this context, we must reflect. Are we simply exchanging one form of bondage for another? Moreover, the automobile profoundly shapes our cities and our very understanding of community. Urban sprawl, designed for cars rather than pedestrians, often fragments neighborhoods, creating distances that keep people isolated. Philosophers of place, like Edward Relf, remind us how a profound sense of belonging can be eroded in this mechanized world. How can we reconcile our love for the automobile with the silos it often creates in our modern lives? As we navigate our thoughts on the automobile, we are left with more questions than answers. Are we truly free behind the wheel, or simply prisoners of our own desires? The automobile stands as both a symbol of progress and a reflection of our complex relationship with technology, freedom, and community. So, the next time you embark on a journey down that winding road, consider where you are headed, not just in miles, but in meaning. The questions linger, inviting deeper reflection. What does it mean to be truly free in a world crafted by our own creations? Antibiotics. Imagine a world plagued by infections that once claimed countless lives. The Black Plague sweeping through cities and towns. The horror of pneumonia turning the strong into the weak. And childhood illnesses leaving families shattered. Now picture the miraculous moment when a scientist, Alexander Fleming, discovers penicillin. This serendipitous finding in 1928 heralds a new era, transforming medicine into a realm of healing and hope. We are led to a question that shadows our advancements. Have we become too reliant on this magic bullet that can vanquish our microbial foes? At the heart of this dilemma is the philosophical tension between human ingenuity and nature's resilience. Antibiotics embody the triumph of modern science, offering us the power to treat bacterial infections effectively. Yet, as we wield this power, we encounter consequences that provoke reflection. The emergence of antibiotic-resistant bacteria, a phenomenon growing alarmingly across the globe, challenges us to reconsider our relationship with medicine. Philosophers like Peter Singer argue that our technological achievements should align with ethical considerations. The creation of antibiotics undeniably saves lives, yet the overprescription and misuse can lead to resistance, putting countless vulnerable individuals at risk. This raises a crucial question. Are we ethically compelled to use this life-saving technology responsibly, even when facing the convenience it offers? If we heed Singer, then we must recognize the moral weight of our choices, for every reckless prescription may produce a strain of bacteria that challenges our very existence. Contrastingly, one might invoke a more utilitarian approach, seeing antibiotics as essential for the greatest good in the short term. In emergency rooms, antibiotics are critical for saving lives, with medical professionals often caught in a race against time. However, the long-term implications of these choices cannot be ignored. A perspective grounded in sustainable medicine could echo the thoughts of philosopher Immanuel Kant, who emphasized the importance of duty. Our responsibility extends beyond immediate outcomes, binding us to the burgeoning generations who will face an antibiotic-resistant world. As the winds of change swirl within our medical community, the questions become urgent. Is it ethical to prioritize immediate lives over the potential catastrophic consequences of antibiotic resistance? Are we, in our quest for short-term solutions, unwittingly embroiled in a tragic irony? The very tool designed to save us may become a means of our undoing. In more recent discussions, the idea of preventive care emerges as a philosophical anchor, advocating for a paradigm shift where we emphasize holistic health rather than reliance on pharmaceuticals. This could be resonant with Aristotle's concept of virtue and balance, seeking the mean, a balance between succumbing to illness and over-medication. But can we consistently prioritize this ideal in a culture driven by instant gratification and urgent fixes? And so, as we navigate the choppy waters of antibiotic use, we find ourselves at a crossroads. We have an opportunity to reflect on our values and choices. Are we prepared to embrace a more mindful relationship with our health and the tools we use? With each prescription, do we consider the ecological balance, the broader implications of our actions, and ultimately, our legacy as stewards of this world? Perhaps this is where the dilemma lies, and thus the contemplation remains open. How do we forge ahead in a world that both grants us miraculous healing and poses profound ethical questions? The answer, much like our understanding of antibiotics, is layered and complex, inviting ongoing dialogue about our future in the face of undeniable progress. Human rights. Imagine a world where every individual, regardless of their background, is treated with dignity and respect. Picture a place where freedom of expression is celebrated, where people can gather peacefully without fear, and where the fundamental rights of every human being are cherished. Now, juxtapose this vision against stark realities: refugees fleeing war-torn nations, children exploited for labor, and voices silenced by oppressive regimes. In the face of such paradoxes, we are prompted to ask, what are human rights, and why do they matter? Human rights are often described as the inalienable rights that every person possesses simply by being human. This concept, championed by philosophers like John Locke, emphasizes life, liberty, and property as essential entitlements. Locke argued that these rights are not granted by governments, but arise inherently from our nature as rational beings. Yet, even with this philosophical grounding, the real world presents a disheartening picture. Consider the two contrasting perspectives of philosophers like Thomas Hobbes and Jean-Jacques Rousseau. Hobbes, in his work Leviathan, suggests that in the absence of a strong authority, human beings are inclined toward chaos, thus justifying a social contract wherein rights are surrendered for security. On the other hand, Rousseau envisions a more optimistic view that humans are inherently good and possess a natural tendency towards compassion. His belief in the noble savage implies that societies ought to cultivate collective responsibility towards protecting individual rights. In contemporary discussions, the conflict remains dynamic. Take, for example, the debate over national security versus freedom of expression. Following events such as 9/11, many governments justified extensive surveillance measures in the name of security. But do these measures infringe upon our right to privacy and freedom from arbitrary detention? Here, the philosophical question of whether the protection of the collective can supersede individual rights emerges. As we reflect on these dilemmas, we recognize the pressing relevance of human rights today. The global refugee crisis, the plight of marginalized communities, and systemic inequalities all remind us that many people still fight daily for the basic rights we often take for granted. Activists like Malala Yousafzai and Nelson Mandela exemplified the resilience necessary to stand against injustice, illustrating the profound impact individuals can have in promoting a culture of human rights. Yet, where do we go from here? The discourse surrounding human rights is fraught with complexities and contradictions. We must ask ourselves, is the advancement of human rights a universal endeavor, or one influenced by cultural and political contexts? Can we create a global standard for rights while respecting individual nations' sovereignty? Ultimately, the journey towards recognizing and protecting human rights is an ongoing struggle. As we navigate through these questions, we are invited to reflect on our role in advocating for justice, understanding, and compassion. Perhaps the more significant question is not merely what human rights are defined to be, but rather how each one of us can contribute to a world where every individual is entitled to live freely and authentically. The answers may be elusive, yet the pursuit itself fosters a deeper understanding of our shared human experience. The intersection of navigation and existence, the philosophy of GPS. Picture this. You step into your car, your destination programmed into your device. A soft voice guides you through winding roads and busy intersections, recalibrating when you stray from the course. The Global Positioning System, GPS, has become an essential part of our modern lives, simplifying how we navigate the world. Yet, as we entrust our journeys to technology, a deeper philosophical question arises. What does it mean to rely on a system that knows our every location? In contemplating GPS, we touch on the nature of autonomy and external guidance. Consider the philosopher Søren Kierkegaard, who explored the idea of the leap of faith. In life, We frequently find ourselves at crossroads, and sometimes we have to rely on our intuitive sense of direction rather than external guides. By depending on GPS, do we risk surrendering our personal agency? Are we simply passengers in our own lives, allowing a machine to dictate our paths? There's a tension here, a contradiction that is palpable. GPS offers a comforting assurance, yet it simultaneously raises questions about our choices. The existentialists, including Jean-Paul Sartre, argue that we must confront the burden of freedom. In handing over our navigation to technology, do we let go of the responsibility to truly consider our journey? By embracing convenience, do we inadvertently construct an illusion of control, forsaking self-discovery and adventure? Think of your last road trip. Did second-guessing your GPS lead to unexpected discoveries? Embracing the unknown can deepen our understanding of the world, fostering serendipity. Philosopher Martin Heidegger advocated for a way of being that is attuned to our surroundings. In essence, the act of wandering without a prescribed path can reveal the richness of existence itself, uncovering experiences that a predetermined route might obscure. Yet GPS also beckons us to consider the implications of precision. Accuracy in navigation can be seen as a double-edged sword. While we may arrive promptly at our destinations, this reliance speaks to a broader cultural shift, the quest for certainty amid chaos. How do we reconcile this desire for clarity with life's inherent uncertainties? In a world where information floods our lives, we must also grapple with moments beyond calculation, reminding ourselves of the beauty found in spontaneity. As we explore a landscape shaped by technology, we encounter ethical dilemmas as well. In trusting GPS, we yield a part of our privacy. Our locations are tracked, our habits recorded. Philosopher Michel Foucault wrestled with power structures that emerge from surveillance. Are we not, in some ways, surrendering our individuality? In choosing convenience, we must ask ourselves, what are we willing to trade for a smoother journey? As you navigate your life, both on the road and beyond, consider the paths you choose. What is gained when you reach your destination without contemplation? What is lost when technology informs the choices you might craft alone? The global positioning system is more than a tool. It is a mirror reflecting our values, fears, and aspirations. In the intersection of navigation and existence, we find ourselves confronted with choices that shape not only the routes we travel, but the very essence of who we are. So as you contemplate your next journey, both literal and metaphorical, take a moment to ponder these questions. Are you steering your course, or is the GPS leading you? The answers may remain elusive, but perhaps the quest for understanding is the true destination worth embracing. The wheel. Imagine for a moment that you stand before a towering wheel, its spokes radiating in every direction. As you grasp the familiar handle, a gentle push prompts it to turn. Each rotation reveals a new segment: loss, joy, opportunity, despair. A tapestry of experiences that touch the lives of all. This wheel symbolizes the cycle of existence, a dance of chance, choice, and the intricate web of fate. But herein lies a profound dilemma. Do we shape the wheel, or does it shape us? The Stoics, with their emphasis on acceptance and resilience, might argue that while we cannot control the wheel's many manifestations, we can influence our responses. Epictetus teaches that while external events may be beyond our control, our reactions to them are wholly ours. In surrendering to the wheel, we find peace amidst turmoil. Yet contrast this with the existentialists, who assert that we possess the power to define our paths amidst absurdity. Jean-Paul Sartre proclaims that existence precedes essence, encouraging us to embrace the wheel, not as passive recipients, but as active participants in our fate. With every rotation, we can choose our meaning and reshape our narrative. As you contemplate your own wheel, think about the moments where chance played a role, perhaps a chance encounter that altered your life's trajectory, or a seemingly insignificant choice that snowballed into something monumental. These instances remind us of the randomness in life, urging us to examine the balance between fate and agency. The ancient Greeks viewed fate as a force beyond human comprehension, represented by the moirai, or fates, weaving each life thread into a greater tapestry. Are we merely strands in this elaborate design, or do we possess the ability to pull our threads in new directions? This ongoing dialogue resonates today amidst a world laden with uncertainty. The global pandemic was a pivotal moment for many, a sudden turn of the wheel, sparking both hardship and innovation. We were all thrust onto a shared plane of unpredictability, confronting our innate desire for control. Some found opportunity in adversity, pivoting into new careers or cultivating connections in unexpected ways, while others faced despair. The wheel continues to turn, indifferent to our struggles and successes alike. As you listen to your inner voice amid the whirl of life, consider this: does the wheel ground you in surrender or embolden you to rise? Nietzsche inspired many to embrace the eternal return, challenging us to live fully and affirmatively at every moment. What if, he proposed, you had to relive your life over and over, exactly as it is? This thought experiment beckons a profound responsibility: to create a life worthy of repetition, to find joy in life's trials and tribulations, and to recognize the beauty within the cycles of our existence. So with each turn of the wheel, be invited to reflect on your own journey. What stories does it tell? What lessons lie within its curves? In this ebb and flow of fortune, don't seek definitive answers, but instead embrace the questions. The wheel will keep turning, offering new segments for exploration, endlessly reminding us that in the end, it is not about mastering the wheel, but about discovering how we choose to engage with its motion. Feminism. Imagine a world where the societal roles of men and women are not defined by historical norms, where opportunities and aspirations are equally accessible regardless of gender. In this vision, a woman can lead a company, serve as a political leader, or pursue a career in science without encountering barriers. This raises a pivotal question: what does true equality look like, and what sacrifices must be made to achieve it? At its core, feminism is a movement that seeks to address the disparities between genders, advocating for equal rights and opportunities. Yet, it is not merely a quest for women's empowerment. It challenges deeply entrenched systems of power and ideology that have historically marginalized not only women, but also a variety of identities. Consider the feminist philosophy of Simone de Beauvoir, who illuminated the idea that one is not born a woman, but rather becomes one through societal conditioning. Her work prompts us to question: to what extent do our perceived gender roles shape our identities? If culture can construct these identities, can it also be deconstructed? On the other hand, essentialist views argue that gender differences stem from natural biological distinctions. This dichotomy frames a broader debate about whether gender is a social construct or inherently tied to our biology. In contemporary discourse, intersectional feminism, a term coined by Kimberly Crenshaw, underscores the importance of considering multiple identities: race, class, sexuality, and ability, while examining gender inequality. For instance, a white woman's experience in the workplace may differ vastly from that of a black woman or a disabled woman. Thus, the feminist movement must grapple with these complex realities. How do we ensure that our advocacy is inclusive? Can it be possible to uplift all voices when historical power dynamics are inherently unequal? Today, many struggles remain relevant. The gender pay gap persists, with women earning less than their male counterparts for similar work. Violence against women, reproductive rights, and representation in leadership positions all constitute pressing issues that underline the work still required for equality. Yet, what about men's roles in this conversation? Some argue that feminism should also encompass the dismantling of toxic masculinity, which limits men's emotional expression and fosters harmful behaviors. What becomes of the concept of masculinity when gender constructs are scrutinized and redefined? This ongoing dialogue prompts us to reflect on our individual roles within the movement. Are we allies, advocates, or passive observers in the quest for equality? The challenge lies in recognizing our own biases and privileges while striving for change in our communities. The essence of feminism is not merely about women. It demands a collective awakening to the norms and structures that bind us all. As we ponder these intricate dilemmas, we're left with a lingering question. Can we, as a society, envision and work towards a world where gender does not dictate our opportunities and choices? The task ahead may be daunting, but the quest for understanding, compassion, and equality remains a powerful journey worth undertaking. No single voice holds the answer, but together we can continue to explore the vast landscape of feminism, embracing the complexities that define our shared humanity. The steam engine. Imagine a world devoid of the modern conveniences we often take for granted. No trains chugging across the countryside, no steamers plowing through vast oceans, and no factories humming with the rhythm of production. Now, picture the moment when a curious inventor first harnessed the power of steam, transforming water into energy and igniting the flames of industrial revolution. In this revolution, we encounter a profound philosophical dilemma. As society embraces progress, what sacrifices accompany our advancements? The steam engine, a marvel of engineering, epitomizes the tension between innovation and its consequences. When James Watt refined the steam engine in the 18th century, he spurred unparalleled growth, allowing humanity to transcend geographical barriers and catapult into an age of productivity. However, as we marvel at this triumph, we must ask ourselves, does progress come at a cost? Are we, as agents of creation, accountable for the aftermath of such advancements? Philosophers like Karl Marx viewed industrialization through a critical lens, emphasizing the alienation of workers who toiled in factories under oppressive conditions. To Marx, the steam engine symbolized not only technological innovation, but also the exploitation inherent in capitalistic structures. While machines enhanced efficiency, they simultaneously undermined human dignity, reducing individuals to mere cogs in a vast economic machine. This legacy urges us to reflect upon the ethos of progress. Who truly benefits? On the other hand, John Stuart Mill offers a more optimistic perspective. As a proponent of utilitarianism, Mill argued that the consequences of technological advancements could yield the greatest happiness for the greatest number. If steam engines lead to increased production, wealth, and education, perhaps their impact can be justified. Yet this viewpoint compels us to balance productivity with ethical considerations. How do we ensure that the benefits of progress are equitably distributed? Can we prevent the marginalization of those left behind in the wake of innovation? In modern society, the steam engine's legacy persists, echoing through the rise of automation and artificial intelligence. Today, as we automate labor, we must ask ourselves, are we liberating individuals from the drudgery of manual work, or are we creating new forms of servitude? The automation revolution mirrors the steam engine's onset. The promises of increased leisure and productivity may come with the darker reality of job displacement and economic disparity. Moreover, the environmental consequences of industrialization remind us that the enthusiasm for technological progress often blinds us to its ecological impact. The steam engine catalyzed the extraction of fossil fuels and environmental degradation, a pattern that continues to resonate in contemporary discussions on climate change. In this light, we must grapple with a disconcerting truth. The cost of progress may be paid not just by individuals, but by the planet itself. As we contemplate the legacy of the steam engine, we confront not only a historical dilemma, but a contemporary one, an invitation to engage in a meaningful dialogue about the intersection of innovation, ethics, and sustainability. The steam engine challenges us to consider whose interests we serve as we forge ahead into uncharted waters. So we leave you with this reflective question. As we pursue progress, can we ensure that it serves humanity holistically, aligning technological advancement with ethical responsibility? The answer remains elusive, beckoning us to continue this exploration long after the steam has settled. Nuclear power. Imagine a world where energy is almost limitless, where the flicker of a light bulb dances in tandem with humanity's quest for progress. Now, envision that same flicker, dimmed by the dark shadows of catastrophe, the fallout from disaster, the haunting specter of radiation. The question arises, can the pursuit of clean energy coexist with the potential for devastation? This dilemma encapsulates the complex nature of nuclear power, a source that promises efficiency and sustainability, but carries with it the heavy weight of ethical concern. At its heart, the debate around nuclear power evokes deep philosophical inquiries. On one side lie the utilitarians, like John Stuart Mill, who would argue that if nuclear power can provide vast amounts of energy while drastically reducing greenhouse gas emissions, its benefits outweigh the risks. For them, the sheer potential to power cities, drive innovation, and tackle climate change is a moral imperative. From a utilitarian perspective, the promise of nuclear energy could lead to a brighter, more sustainable future for humanity. However, this brightness does not come without its shadows. The potential for catastrophic events, whether from natural disasters, human error, or terrorism, raises significant ethical questions. It echoes the thoughts of existentialist philosophers like Jean-Paul Sartre, who remind us that our choices are fraught with consequences. The decision to invest in, expand, or rely on nuclear energy is not just a technical one. It's a reflection of our values and priorities as a society. Do we risk potential disaster for greater energy independence? Moreover, the moral ramifications of nuclear waste cannot be ignored. How do we handle materials that remain hazardous for thousands of years? In this light, one may draw from Kantian ethics, focusing on duty and obligation. Kant urges us to act in ways that could become universal laws. Does the pursuit of nuclear energy serve a duty to protect future generations, or does it risk condemning them to handle burdens we've left behind? Opponents of nuclear energy often invoke the precautionary principle, famously articulated by thinkers like Hans Jonas, which urges caution in the face of uncertainty. The history of nuclear accidents, Chernobyl, Fukushima, haunts the conversation with vivid reminders of devastation. Viewed through this lens, the argument becomes one of safety versus progress. Can we afford to gamble with technology that holds the potential for both energy independence and immense peril? Yet, as the climate crisis looms ever larger on the horizon, could nuclear power be the bridge between our reliance on fossil fuels and a sustainable future? Thinkers like Vaclav Smil suggest that we may need those nuclear kilowatts to power the transition into renewable energies fully. The dilemma of nuclear power compels us to consider our motivations, the values we embody, and the world we wish to build. As we stand on the precipice of technological advancement, we can't ignore the weight of our decisions. Should we embrace nuclear power and its vast potential, even knowing the risks involved? Or do we tread more cautiously, seeking alternative methods of energy that might feel safer, albeit less efficient? In this poignant balancing act between progress and precaution, the question remains open. Nuclear power invites us to reflect not just on its possibilities, but on our responsibility to mine the truth behind our choices, leading us toward futures yet unimagined. What path will we choose as we navigate this profound moral landscape? Perhaps only our continued reflection can guide us through. The electric motor. Imagine a world where every motion is powered not by brute force, but by invisible currents flowing seamlessly through wires. Picture an electric motor, a device that with the simple flick of a switch translates the energy of electrons into movement, transforming our daily lives in subtle yet profound ways. Yet behind this marvel of modern engineering lies a philosophical dilemma. What does it mean to harness such power? Who truly benefits from it? And at what cost? The electric motor is often hailed as a testament to human ingenuity and progress. It revolutionized industries, enabled mass transportation, and even made our homes more comfortable. Think of the joys derived from electric vehicles, household appliances, and bustling factories, all made possible through the interplay of electricity and magnetism. But while we celebrate these advancements, we must also confront the ethical implications of our reliance on this technology. Consider the philosopher Martin Heidegger, who warned that humanity's relationship with technology can often border on the dangerously instrumental. In his view, technology isn't merely a tool. It reflects how we perceive and interact with the world. The electric motor embodies our desire to control nature, yet this control comes with an inherent risk. Are we mere users of technology, or have we become subservient to it? In our pursuit of convenience and efficiency, do we relinquish our sense of responsibility towards the environment and one another? Conflict looms as we acknowledge the darker side of electrical power. The extraction of raw materials, the emissions from manufacturing, and the often exploitative labor practices that support the production of electric motors present a stark contrast to the clean energy we envision. The philosopher John Rawls might question the fairness of this system, urging us to reflect on whether our technological advancements perpetuate existing inequalities. For whom does progress truly work? Is it for the wealthy consumer in a developed nation, or the miner in a resource-rich country, often laboring under harsh conditions? As we delve deeper, we find ourselves grappling with the complexity of our choices. Technologies like electric motors might help combat climate change by facilitating a shift from fossil fuels, yet their production and disposal contribute to ecological harm. This duality resembles the philosophical concept of utilitarianism, where actions are assessed based on their consequences. Do the benefits of electric power outweigh the costs to human lives and the Earth? In this space of reflection, we also confront a paradox. Technology designed to liberate us can at times bind us further. As we embrace electric motors, we risk deepening our dependence on vast energy networks and intricate supply chains, seemingly out of our control. Are we trading the immediacy of human effort for the distant hum of machines? Ultimately, the tale of the electric motor is one of duality, potential and peril, progress and paradox. Philosophically, it invites us to question the very fabric of our existence in a world transformed by technology. As we stand at the intersection of innovation and morality, we are left pondering, can we wield this power wisely, shaping a future where technology uplifts rather than diminishes our humanity? As you reflect on this journey, consider whether the allure of convenience and control might lead us toward a more profound understanding of our place within the intricate web of existence. The dialogue between humanity and the electric motor remains open, waiting for our thoughtful engagement. Genetic engineering. Imagine a world where parents have the power to custom design their children, choosing traits that include intelligence, athleticism, physical appearance, and even predispositions toward certain diseases. Picture a couple sitting before a series of screens, each highlighting various genetic options. They can select a myriad of possibilities to create their perfect child. But amid the promise of a brighter future, a question lingers. At what cost do we wield such power over the very fabric of life? This is the dilemma of genetic engineering, a profound ethical and philosophical challenge that invites deep reflection on our understanding of nature, identity, and morality. As scientists unlock the secrets of the genome, they offer us tools capable of altering life at its most fundamental level. But with this unprecedented capacity comes a weighty responsibility. What might it mean for humanity if we dare to play creator? Philosophers such as Friedrich Nietzsche have previously warned us of the consequences of overreaching our natural limitations. Nietzsche's notion of the Übermensch, or overman, suggests that striving for self-overcoming can lead to both greatness and peril. In the context of genetic engineering, this raises crucial questions. Are we striving toward Darwinian excellence, or are we risking a descent into an ethically questionable enterprise where eugenics once again takes root? Consider the potential peril of a society that privileges genetically engineered traits. If only a select few can afford or access these enhancements, what becomes of equality? A modern echo of Plato's allegory of the metal surfaces. Would the engineered become the gold of society, while those who remain natural are cast aside as inferior? The specter of discrimination looms large, creating a new layer of social stratification. Yet, the conversation must also acknowledge the hopeful potential of genetic engineering. With each advancement, whether in curing genetic disorders or enhancing physical abilities, we glimpse the promise of a world where suffering might be alleviated. Advocates tout the benefits of eradicating diseases such as cystic fibrosis or sickle cell anemia, and argue that such innovations could redefine the boundaries of human potential. Yet, this hopeful outlook must contend with the Faustian complexity of the human condition. Are we placing our desires for perfection ahead of acceptance and love? On a more existential level, what does it mean to be human in an era where our very essence can be modified? The thoughts of David Hume remind us to reflect on our emotions, our joys, pains, and imperfections, all integral parts of the human experience. If we tailor our children to fit an ideal, do we not strip them of the unique narratives that shape their identities? As Scott McCloud aptly observed, life is not solely defined by its genetic makeup, but by the stories that unfold within that life. In the end, the realm of genetic engineering implores us to tread cautiously. As we stand on the precipice of this brave new world, we must pause and wonder, what does it mean to honor the beauty in our imperfections? How do we reconcile our pursuit of health, hope, and happiness with the inevitabilities of the human experience? As we unfurl the possibilities of altering the genetic fabric of life, we find ourselves amidst an intricate tapestry of ethical dilemmas, speculative futures, and profound philosophical questions. The journey toward understanding genetic engineering beckons us not to seek definitive answers, but invites us to wonder, reflect, and ponder the profound depth of what it truly means to be human. Imagine standing at the edge of a serene lake, the sky painted in hues of orange and purple as the sun dips beyond the horizon. In your hand, you hold a camera, a device capable of capturing this breathtaking moment. But as you peer through the viewfinder, you begin to wonder, what does the act of capturing this image mean? Is it merely a reflection of reality? Or does it transform the moment into something entirely different? This is the dilemma of the camera, a philosophical inquiry that challenges our understanding of perception, representation, and the essence of reality itself. At first, we might think of the camera as a tool for documentation, preserving fleeting moments for future contemplation. Yet, when we consider the choices made in framing a shot, the decision of what to include and what to omit, we are faced with an intriguing question. To what extent does the camera reveal the truth, and to what extent does it fabricate a narrative? Philosophers like Martin Heidegger suggest that technology, including the camera, reveals our relationship with the world. Heidegger believed that devices shape our experience, allowing us not only to capture reality, but also to reinterpret it. The camera can elevate an ordinary scene, offering us a fresh perspective, yet it can also create a version of reality that may not accurately reflect the truth. In this light, one wonders if the captured image is a mere representation or a construction of the photographer's intent. Consider the modern world filled with digital imagery, social media saturated with curated photographs. As we scroll through endless feeds, we encounter not only beauty, but also a distortion of reality. Are these images genuine reflections of life, or have they become machinations of a dream? Susan Sontag, in her work on photography, observed how the sheer abundance of images can lead to a numbing of our emotional responses. The more we capture, the less we may appreciate the moment itself, creating a paradox of connection through visual disconnection. Furthermore, the ethical implications of photography arise. Does the act of capturing someone else's image without consent impose a prescriptive narrative upon them? Are we turning people into mere subjects to be viewed, analyzed, and judged? Philosophies rooted in ethics, like those of Immanuel Kant, warn against treating individuals merely as means to an end. When we snap a photograph, we must ask, are we honoring the essence of the person or moment, or are we objectifying them, reducing them to a pixelated portrayal? As we navigate this world of images, we also confront the question of memory and its reliability. Are photographs a faithful representation of our memories, or do they alter them, refusing the fluidity inherent in human recollection? The psycholinguist and philosopher, Jerome Bruner, posited that memory is not a static recording, but a dynamic process subject to reinterpretation. Does the camera, then, serve as a tool for memory preservation or a gateway to distortion? This brings us back to that tranquil lakeside moment. Is it merely an image captured in time, or a moment imbued with meaning, influenced by the lens through which it is viewed? The camera invites us to ponder the boundaries between reality and representation, art and documentation, connection and alienation. So, as you contemplate this journey of the camera, let it lead you not to a single conclusion, but to continued reflection. In a world rich with images, what does it mean to truly see? How do we perceive reality through the lenses we choose? As we explore these questions, perhaps we can arrive at a deeper understanding of not only the world captured in photographs, but the essence of our own existence within it. Public health. Imagine a small village where a mysterious illness starts to spread. Its origins unclear, villagers watch helplessly as neighbors fall ill. As fear grips the community, a question emerges. Should the local government impose strict measures to control the outbreak, even if it invades personal freedoms? At what cost do we prioritize public health over individual autonomy? This dilemma casts a light on the complexities of public health, a field deeply intertwined with ethics, governance, and the very fabric of society. On one side, we have the utilitarian perspective proposed by philosophers like Jeremy Bentham and John Stuart Mill, who argue that actions are morally right if they promote overall happiness. From this point of view, implementing strict measures during a health crisis can be justified if it saves lives. Protecting the greater good at the expense of individual freedoms. For instance, enforcing quarantine rules or mandatory vaccinations might indeed disrupt daily life, but could also prevent widespread illness and death. The calculus seems clear. The sacrifice of some must be weighed against the welfare of many. However, in contrast to this utilitarian approach lies the Kantian perspective, championed by Immanuel Kant, who emphasized the inherent dignity and rights of individuals. For Kant, each person must be treated as an end in themselves, not merely as a means to an end. From this viewpoint, imposing measures without consent, even for health reasons, violates individual autonomy and can breed resentment or distrust. Would forced vaccinations erode the very fabric of community trust that is so vital in public health contexts? Consider the modern-day implications. The COVID-19 pandemic brought these discussions to the forefront. Governments worldwide were faced with unprecedented choices: lockdowns to curb the spread, mask mandates to protect citizens. Yet, as debates raged about the balance of rights and safety, many faced the harder question: how to ensure public health without infringing upon personal freedoms. Some argued vehemently against mandates, citing bodily autonomy, while others felt the urgency to protect the vulnerable justified such actions. In a nuanced reflection, we might contemplate the role of trust and cooperation in public health initiatives. Could it be possible that individual rights and public health can coexist harmoniously? Perhaps, rather than enforcing mandates, a robust public health campaign that emphasizes education and community involvement might yield better results. The challenge lies in fostering trust, encouraging informed choices rather than imposing regulations. Yet, as we ponder these complex issues, we are left with open-ended questions. How do we reconcile individual liberty with collective responsibility? Is it ethical to impose restrictions for the greater good? And if so, to what extent? Can the ethos of care and compassion guide our policies, ensuring that public health measures nurture rather than alienate? This ongoing dialogue beckons us into deeper contemplation. As we navigate through life's uncertainties, whether it be a pandemic or another crisis, these dilemmas will continue to shape not only our policies, but the very nature of our societies. The journey toward understanding might be long, but perhaps it is within this exploration that we discover the true essence of living together in a shared world. Satellite technology. Imagine a world where every moment of our lives is recorded, analyzed, and transmitted from the aloft vantage point of a silent, lingering observer in the sky. A farmer tends to her crops, guided by real-time data streamed from an orbiting satellite. A child, lost in a bustling city, is located through GPS technology, prompting the arrival of a helping hand. A remote wilderness is mapped and studied, its untouched beauty preserved and monitored by satellites gazing down from space. These are the everyday miracles of satellite technology, a marvel, yet a source of ethical and philosophical question. But what does it mean to have such technology at our fingertips? On one hand, satellites have interconnected our world in unprecedented ways. Through them, we enjoy global communication, enhanced weather forecasting, and advanced scientific research. Philosophers like Marshall McLuhan, in his examination of media's influence on society, might suggest that these satellites are an extension of our sensory perception, transforming how we experience distance and connection. Each pixel of data relayed back to Earth expands our awareness, shaping the very fabric of our daily lives. But is this technological marvel truly a boon for humanity? Consider, too, the darker dimensions of satellite surveillance. This capability raises profound ethical dilemmas concerning privacy and autonomy. If we accept the benefits of real-time observation, do we not also invite a scrutiny that could penetrate the sanctity of human experience? The philosopher Michel Foucault delved deeply into issues of surveillance and power. He argued that watching and being watched is a defining characteristic of modern societies. Under the lens of satellite technology, can we still define our sense of individuality, or do we risk becoming mere data points in an expansive database? Moreover, in a world where satellites can trace our travels and habits, the fracture between public security and private life becomes striking. Government surveillance, made feasible by satellite technology, challenges our rights and freedoms. Do the collective safety and convenience we derive from surveillance justify the invasion of individual privacy? This dilemma echoes the rights espoused by John Stuart Mill, who advocated for personal freedoms as a crucial aspect of human dignity. Can we truly claim autonomy when we are perpetually observed? As we examine the consequences of satellite technology, we must also consider its impact on our environmental consciousness. Satellites assist in monitoring climate change trends and natural disasters, fostering a more profound understanding of our planet's health. Yet, their presence in space raises questions about humanity's role as caretakers of Earth. Is it not paradoxical that tools designed to aid and preserve can also contribute to the depletion of natural resources through relentless consumption and satellites launched into orbit? Could we, in our pursuit of progress, inadvertently neglect our moral obligation to protect the very world that sustains us? Ultimately, satellite technology serves as a reflection of our values and priorities. In this advanced age of connectivity and observation, we confront essential questions regarding surveillance, autonomy, environmental stewardship, and the essence of communication. As we continue to grapple with these dilemmas, we find ourselves at a crossroads, pondering what it means to live in a world where the gaze of the satellite is ever watchful. What are we becoming in the age of observation? Perhaps this is the true dilemma of satellite technology, one that invites us to reflect on our choices in an increasingly interconnected universe, urging us to seek balance between innovation and ethics in the vast expanse of the unknown. Ecology. Imagine a pristine forest, sunlight filtering through the leaves, casting a mosaic of shadows on the forest floor. Birds sing from the branches above, and a gentle breeze carries the scent of damp earth and wildflowers. Now, imagine that this vibrant ecosystem receives a visitor, a child, with hands eager to explore. As they pick flowers and chase butterflies, they marvel at nature's beauty, unaware that their innocent curiosity has consequences. What happens when that child returns day after day, removing flowers and disturbing nests? At what point does admiration become exploitation? This scenario gently guides us into the philosophical exploration of ecology, inviting us to question our relationship with nature. The ethical dilemmas are profound. Should we prioritize human experiences and enjoy the beauty of nature? Or do we have a moral duty to preserve ecosystems for their own sake, independent of their utility to us? This dilemma raises the question of intrinsic versus instrumental value. Do we appreciate nature only for what it provides, or does it possess an inherent worth beyond human interests? Philosophers like Aldo Leopold, in his Land Ethic, invite us to consider that the environment deserves moral consideration. He famously challenged the notion that humans are separate from nature, suggesting instead that we are a part of a larger ecological community. To harm the land is to harm ourselves, a sentiment echoed in contemporary discussions on environmental ethics. But contrasting views emerge. Anthropocentrism, championed by thinkers like Peter Singer, posits a more human-centered worldview, arguing that nature's value lies in its capacity to enhance human welfare. As we navigate these perspectives, the urgency of the ecological crisis becomes evident. Climate change, loss of biodiversity, and pollution remind us that our actions have far-reaching consequences. The child in the forest reflects our own behavior on a grander scale, consuming resources without considering the long-term effects. Modern society often prioritizes economic growth above ecological stability, a choice steeped in philosophical inquiry about progress and its costs to nature. Yet the question persists: how do we strike a balance? Can we find harmony between enjoying nature and conserving it? Some propose a more biocentric approach, suggesting that all living beings, regardless of their utility to humans, hold value. In contrast, others argue for a technocentric view, asserting that with technological advancements, we can solve ecological challenges without having to relinquish our comforts or conveniences. As we contemplate these ideas, we are left with more questions than answers. How do we teach future generations to respect and nurture the environment while still engaging with it? Can we shift our value systems to prioritize ecological health over short-term human gain? Perhaps the true challenge lies in fostering a mindset that sees both nature and humanity as interconnected threads in the vast tapestry of life. In this quiet journey through ecological philosophy, we are invited to reflect on our individual and collective roles. As we stand at the crossroads of choice, what perspective will guide our decisions? Will we be stewards of the earth, or mere visitors, taken by the allure of nature's beauty without grasping our responsibility? The answers may elude us, But perhaps the act of inquiry itself is the first step toward deeper awareness and understanding. Blockchain technology. Imagine a world where trust is built not upon relationships, but through the very fabric of digital transactions. In this world, you don't need to know your neighbor to believe that their promise is genuine. Instead, a decentralized ledger secures every promise made, erasing traditional boundaries of trust. This is the essence of blockchain technology, a system that revolutionizes how we perceive and implement trust in our interactions. At first glance, the allure of blockchain lies in its democratization of trust. This technology operates as a distributed ledger, making it nearly impossible to alter or manipulate data. Each transaction is immutable, bound to chains of previous transactions, creating a transparent and verifiable history. Here, the philosopher Immanuel Kant's notion of autonomy resonates. When individuals can trust the inherent security of a system, they reclaim agency over their transactions, free from reliance on intermediaries like banks or governments. However, this brings us to a philosophical dilemma. What does it mean to trust a system over a person? Some argue that while technology can provide unprecedented security, it also fosters a disconnect between human relationships. In a world governed by algorithms, do we risk becoming overly reliant on these systems, abandoning the rich texture of human interaction? Reflecting on existentialist thought, one might wonder whether genuine freedom lies in our connections with others, rather than in the impersonal reliability of technology. Moreover, the emergence of cryptocurrencies highlights the tension between acknowledged authority and decentralized freedom. On one hand, figures like Friedrich Hayek herald cryptocurrencies as liberating forces against state control. On the other, critics warn that unregulated crypto markets could enable fraud, exacerbate inequality, or empower malicious actors, leading to chaos rather than order. This dichotomy brings to mind John Stuart Mill's harm principle, prompting us to question whether unrestricted freedom can coexist with collective well-being. The philosophical implications extend to concepts of identity and ownership. In the digital realm, blockchain has the potential to redefine these constructs. With each unique transaction inscribed in a chain, individuals could have verifiable ownership of digital assets. Much like Plato's theory of forms posits that the essence of things can be known and preserved. But what happens to our understanding of individual identity when it can be tokenized, commodified, and traded on open markets? Can we still recognize ourselves when our worth is measured in digital currency rather than human experience? In our modern landscape, the potential of blockchain technology is profound, impacting finance, governance, art, and beyond, each with its own philosophical ramifications. From questions of equity and accessibility to inquiries about the value of anonymity versus accountability, it beckons us to reflect on the principles that underlie our interactions with technology. As we navigate this digital frontier, we might find ourselves at the intersection of trust and liberty. Torn between the desire for connection and the allure of decentralization, ultimately, the contemplation of blockchain technology invites us into a larger dialogue about the nature of trust, identity, and community in an increasingly digitized world. As you ponder these questions, consider, in a landscape where technology takes precedence, how do we ensure that our pursuit of progress does not come at the expense of what it means to be human? The answers may not be clear, but the questions will continue to illuminate our journey forward in this digital age. Virtual reality. Imagine for a moment that you slip on a headset and are instantly transported to a breathtaking landscape. A lush forest, filled with the songs of birds, or perhaps a bustling medieval market, teeming with life. Every detail is so vivid, so immersive, that it feels more real than the world outside your window. You can touch, feel, and even interact with this environment in ways beyond your wildest dreams. But as you engage with this alternate reality, a subtle question begins to tickle your mind. If you can create such a compelling world, what does it mean for your understanding of reality itself? This is the essence of the virtual reality dilemma. As our technology advances, we're faced with profound philosophical questions that echo the age-old discussions of reality, perception, and existence. Thinkers like Plato have previously explored the nature of reality with his allegory of the cave, where prisoners mistake shadows on a wall for true reality. In our modern context, are we not the prisoners themselves, staring at shadows on the wall of our screens, while the true essence of existence eludes us? Virtual reality blurs the boundaries between the actual world and immersive simulations, challenging our perceptions and experiences. Could an experience in virtual reality provide genuine understanding or emotions, or are they ultimately hollow reflections of something real? Philosophers like Immanuel Kant asserted that our knowledge of the world is constrained by human perception, hinting that our understanding may never fully grasp reality. Are the experiences constructed in virtual environments just enriched reflections of our desires? Or do they possess intrinsic value beyond their digital origins? As we engage with technology that allows us to escape the mundanity of reality, we grapple with the implications of our choices. The hedonistic perspective, often championed by utilitarian thinkers like John Stuart Mill, might argue that as long as virtual experiences bring joy and pleasure, they hold value in their own right. Yet, can it be argued that we lose something crucial by opting for a fabricated experience? One might echo the existential musings of Jean-Paul Sartre, who suggested that humans must confront the absurdity of existence. But what happens when we opt for the ease of an alternate reality instead? Moreover, there are ethical concerns surrounding virtual reality. How do we navigate the potential escapism it offers? In an age where many feel isolated and disconnected, does immersing ourselves in these alternate worlds detract from our physical interactions and responsibilities? Are we creating a society where we can simply escape into curated realities while our genuine relationships and engagements fade away? As technology races forward, we are left with more questions than answers. What is the nature of our reality when we can craft it at will? Do these digital realms devalue our lived experiences, or do they enrich our understanding of what it means to be human? In this intricate dance of perception, existence, and reality, we find ourselves at a crossroads. There are no definitive answers, only reflective moments that invite us to ponder the possibilities. Perhaps, like the characters in Plato's cave, what we truly seek is the light beyond our limitations, the illumination of understanding that lies somewhere between our constructed realities and our lived truths. Can you navigate this vivid interplay of existence and perhaps illuminate your path beyond the virtual horizon? Let the contemplation continue, as the journey has only just begun. Climate change awareness. Imagine a world where the seasons are no longer predictable. Winters that once brought a blanket of snow shift to mild rain, while summers grow oppressive with heat waves that last for months. A once familiar landscape now undergoes relentless transformation, as rising sea levels devour coastlines and wildfires rage with newfound ferocity. The delicate balance of nature tips dangerously toward chaos. How do we come to terms with such a reality? This is not a distant future, but a present we must face. The philosophical dilemma surrounding climate change calls into question our responsibilities, not only to ourselves, but to future generations, the planet, and all accompanying life forms. It invokes the ideas of thinkers like Immanuel Kant, who spoke of moral imperatives that guide our actions. How do we act in ways that honor the planet upon which we depend? Kant's categorical imperative suggests that we must treat nature not merely as a means to an end, but as an end in itself. This raises a poignant question. Is it ethical to prioritize human wants over the health of the Earth and its ecosystems? On one end of the spectrum, ecocentric philosophies argue for an intrinsic value in nature. This view, advocated by thinkers such as Arne Naess, proclaims that all living beings possess worth, deserving of respect and protection. Our actions, then, should reflect a reverence for nature's rights, urging us to tackle climate change with fervor and passion. Conversely, anthropocentrism, argued by philosophers like Thomas Hobbes, focuses on human welfare as the primary concern. This perspective sees nature primarily as a resource, driven by economic growth and technological advancement. But as we exploit our environment for short-term gain, we risk creating an uninhabitable world for ourselves and those who come after us, inviting a haunting reflection on the Western conception of progress. The urgency of climate change invites us to confront our interconnections. As philosopher Martin Heidegger suggests, our being is intimately tied to the world around us, shaping our identity and existence. Climate change makes this connection painfully evident. Rising temperatures and extreme weather do not distinguish between nations, systems of governance, or social classes. To move forward, we must embrace a sense of global solidarity, recognizing that our actions, however small, carry the weight of collective responsibility. As we contemplate the ongoing deterioration of our ecosystems, we are called to ask ourselves, what does it mean to coexist harmoniously with nature rather than in domination over it? What sacrifices are we willing to make to ensure a livable future? Is it enough to seek solutions within the confines of our economic systems, or must we rethink our relationship with consumption, growth, and progress? The complexities of climate change, while daunting, also invite innovation, collaboration, and creativity. They compel us to engage in deeper reflections on our values and priorities. As we ponder our shared fate, the questions linger. How do we forge a path that honors both humanity's needs and the Earth's capacities? In the face of uncertainty, can we cultivate hope and envision a sustainable future? These reflections invite us, not to find a definitive answer, but to continuously engage with the world around us, nurturing a consciousness that seeks harmony, connection, and enduring stewardship. The essence of cloud computing, a philosophical inquiry. Imagine standing on a precipice, looking out over a vast expanse of interconnected networks. Each digital cloud above you signifies not only a storage unit, but an ethereal entity filled with information, memories, and potential. This leads us to an intriguing question. What happens to our sense of ownership, privacy, and even identity in this cloud-dominated world? As we delegate more responsibility to these virtual realms, are we liberating ourselves or relinquishing control? This dilemma is at the heart of cloud computing, a technological marvel that transforms how we store, access, and manage data, yet invokes philosophical quandaries about our essence as human beings. With philosophers like Martin Heidegger highlighting our connection to technology and its impact on being. We must question whether our reliance on cloud infrastructures diminishes our autonomy. On one hand, cloud computing democratizes access to information and resources, allowing anyone with an internet connection to engage with vast data sets, collaborate in real time, and innovate fearlessly. It echoes the Enlightenment ideals of shared knowledge, where progress thrives in a collective consciousness. Figures like Michel Foucault would argue that this collective network fosters new forms of power, shaping how information is produced and consumed. Yet, as we embrace this utopian vision, we must confront the reality that our data is often gathered, analyzed, and even sold by corporations with interests that do not align with our own. In contrast, the brave new world of cloud computing invites us to reflect on the notion of surveillance. Our every action online can be tracked and quantified, transforming the digital landscape into a watchful domain. This evokes the sentiments of existentialists like Jean-Paul Sartre, who insisted on our freedom and responsibility in defining our essence. However, if our choices and actions can be predicted and manipulated through algorithms, do we still possess the freedom to choose our path? As we further delve into this digital world, we encounter the ethical implications surrounding data privacy. What does it mean to share intimate aspects of our lives with unseen entities residing in the cloud? Privacy advocates echo concerns from philosophers like Judith Butler, who emphasizes how power dynamics shape our identities in an increasingly interconnected world. Our clouds become repositories of not just data, but fragments of our lives. Each file, image, and picture, or email, a piece of ourselves, subject to interpretation, reconfiguration, and even erasure. Moreover, the philosophy of technology encourages us to interrogate how these innovations redefine community. With cloud computing, we connect across borders instantaneously, forming global identities that transcend geographical limitations. Yet, does this swell of interconnectedness result in meaningful relationships or merely superficial connections? Are we fostering authentic discourse, or are we confining ourselves within echo chambers curated by algorithms? Ultimately, the cloud represents both possibility and peril, liberation and limitation. It raises profound questions about our identity, privacy, and connectedness. As we continue to navigate this digital terrain, we must reflect on our role within it. Are we merely users of this technology or active participants in a broader conversation about the future of humanity? This philosophical inquiry into cloud computing invites us to ponder the complexities of our existence in a digital age, a space where freedom, control, and identity mingle, leaving us with more questions than answers. Perhaps the journey itself, the contemplation of these dilemmas, is where we may find a semblance of clarity amidst the clouds. Nanotechnology. Imagine a world where we can manipulate matter at the atomic level. A world where tiny machines, smaller than a single cell, can repair human tissues, diagnose diseases, and even clean up environmental pollutants. This vision belongs to the realm of nanotechnology, a field that promises revolutionary advancements, but also presents profound ethical dilemmas. If we possess the ability to alter the very foundations of life, what responsibilities do we bear? At its core, nanotechnology involves the manipulation of matter on a nanoscale. 1 nanometer is 1/1000th of a meter. Proponents envision remarkable applications. from delivering drugs directly to disease cells, eradicating cancer, to creating materials that are stronger and lighter than steel. The potential seems boundless, reminiscent of the hopeful visions depicted by futurists such as Ray Kurzweil, who speaks of a merging of biology and technology, where humans transcend their biological limitations. Yet, these advances beg critical questions. What are the ethical implications of such power? Philosophers like Hans Jonas have argued that technological advancement must be guided by an ethics of responsibility, a principle of precaution in the face of unknown consequences. If we venture into altering our biology or the environment with nanotechnology, are we aware of the potential risks and unintended side effects? The history of science is littered with instances where good intentions led to catastrophic outcomes, such as chemical pesticides or genetically modified organisms, which prompted unintended ecological repercussions. Consider also the notion of playing God. In the realm of bioethics, figures like Peter Singer promote utilitarian perspectives, advocating for actions that maximize happiness and minimize suffering. However, how do we balance this with respect for the uncharted territories of life itself? If we artificially enhance human capabilities, should society impose limits? To what extent do we redefine what it means to be human? The slippery path of enhancement versus preservation stands ready to divide opinions. Moreover, as with any technology, access is a profound issue. Will nanotechnology be available to all, or will it become a privilege of the wealthy, exacerbating societal inequalities? If only a select group can afford enhancements, can we still claim that we are advancing humanity as a whole? Karl Marx's critique of capitalism echoes here, arguing that technological advancements often serve to widen the gap between the affluent and the disadvantaged. Are we paving the path for a future where enhancement creates a new social hierarchy? Furthermore, the environmental implications cannot be ignored. As we explore ways to utilize nanotechnology for environmental restoration, we must ask ourselves, can we truly control these miniature agents once they are unleashed into the world? The concept of green nanotechnology offers hope, yet unforeseen interactions at the nanoscale could present new ecological dilemmas, much like the introduced species that have devastated local ecosystems. As we ponder these questions, we are left in a state of quiet reflection. The capabilities of nanotechnology may seem miraculous, but with them come ethical responsibilities and philosophical challenges that demand our attention. They prompt us to consider what it means to be human in an age of rapid technological advancement. The question lingers: as we approach a future intertwined with nanotechnology, will we be wise stewards of this newfound power, or will we become captives of our creations? These reflections invite us to continue exploring the delicate balance between innovation and caution, responsibility and freedom, as we step further into this brave new world. Transistor Technology. Imagine a world where every electronic device you use, from the smartphone in your pocket to the computer that powers your work, ceases to function. What if, in this hypothetical reality, the core component of modern technology simply didn't exist? This is the tantalizing thought that leads us to consider the profound impact of transistor technology. The transistor, a small yet revolutionary device, has fundamentally changed our lives. From amplifying signals to switching currents on and off, it serves as the building block of nearly all modern electronics. The philosophical dilemma surrounding this technology invites us to reflect on the progress it has enabled and the questions it raises about human innovation and its limits. At the heart of the discussion lies the concept of progress itself. Our journey from vacuum tubes to transistors symbolizes human ingenuity and the relentless pursuit of efficiency. Philosophers like Martin Heidegger have warned us to consider the implications of our technological advancements. Are we merely shaping technology to suit our needs, or are we becoming shaped by it? As we integrate transistors into every facet of our lives, do we risk losing touch with the very essence of what it means to be human? Contrasting perspectives emerge. John Dewey might argue that progress, particularly in technology, enhances human potential and serves the common good. To him, the transistor symbolizes a tool that can promote democracy, education, and economic opportunity by making devices accessible to a broader audience. Yet, we must also contemplate the underlying ethical implications. The expansive use of transistors fosters a world increasingly driven by surveillance and data collection, raising questions that echo the concerns of philosophers like Michel Foucault, who warned of the relationship between power, knowledge, and societal control. Transistors are not merely inanimate objects. They are intertwined with humanity's hopes and fears. Are we empowering ourselves with these devices, or are we placing ourselves under their influence? The rise of artificial intelligence and smart technology, powered by billions of transistors, invites us to ponder a critical question. At what point does our reliance on technology redefine our autonomy? What of the environmental ramifications? The manufacture and disposal of transistors pose significant ecological challenges. As the philosopher Hans Jonas suggested, our ethical obligations must extend beyond our immediate actions to include the lasting impact of our technological creations on future generations. The relentless pursuit of progress often overshadows the delicate balance between invention and sustainability, prompting us to evaluate our role as stewards of the planet. As we journey through this landscape shaped by transistors, we encounter a mosaic of questions that invite reflection. Is the great convenience of modern technology worth the potential loss of autonomy and environmental integrity? Can we ensure that future innovations align with a vision that respects both human dignity and the planet? The reality is complex, filled with both promise and peril. Perhaps the most meaningful inquiry we can engage in is not merely about the capabilities of transistors, but how we choose to inhabit a world where they exist. As we move forward into an era dominated by technology, let us remain open to the ever-evolving dialogue on the human experience, a conversation that will undoubtedly continue to unfold with time. The theory of tectonic plates. Imagine standing on the edge of a vast, serene ocean. A gentle breeze brushing against your skin as you gaze at the horizon. Underneath the calm surface, an unseen drama unfolds. Tectonic plates, colossal slabs of the Earth's crust, perpetually shift and collide, giving rise to breathtaking mountain ranges, deep ocean trenches, and the very ground we walk upon. But what if the tumult beneath us isn't just a geological phenomenon? What if it speaks to deeper philosophical dilemmas about stability, change, and interconnectedness? The theory of tectonic plates invites us to ponder a profound question. What does it mean to find stability in a world that is in a constant state of flux? Drawing on the ideas of Heraclitus, the ancient philosopher who famously said, "You cannot step into the same river twice," we can reflect on how change is the only constant. Just as the plates beneath us are always moving, our lives too are in perpetual evolution, shaped by experiences, relationships, and unforeseen circumstances. Yet not all philosophical perspectives embrace the idea of perpetual change. The Stoics, for instance, advocate for maintaining a sense of inner peace amidst external chaos. They teach that while we may not control the movements of tectonic plates, we can control our responses to them. This raises another layer to our contemplation. How do we find grounding and resilience in a world governed by forces beyond our control? In modern times, the implications of the theory of tectonic plates extend beyond geology to influence our societal and environmental considerations. As we become more aware of climate change and natural disasters, pondering how tectonic shifts can lead to devastating earthquakes can evoke existential fears. The Earth's ceaseless dance forces us to confront the fragility of human existence. If even the seemingly solid ground below can be shaken, what does this say about our quest for security? Are we merely temporary visitors on a restless planet, or do we have agency in shaping its future? Philosophers like Nietzsche have furthered this dialogue, suggesting that chaos and disorder can become the catalysts for creation and transformation. The same movements that cause destruction can also yield new landscapes, offering fertile ground for fresh beginnings. Could it be that our own upheavals in life, traumas, losses, and shifts, serve as a precursor to personal growth and rebirth? Yet, as we contemplate these tectonic realities, we find ourselves at an impasse. Should we embrace the chaos, surrendering to the unknown? Or should we strive to create structures, both literal and metaphorical, that provide some semblance of stability? This question resonates deeply in our own lives as we navigate relationships, careers, and the essence of who we are. Ultimately, the theory of tectonic plates leads us into an ocean of inquiry. As we stand upon the shifting ground of life, we are left to reflect on our relationship with change and how we choose to engage with the infinite complexity surrounding us. In a world governed by forces both magnificent and unpredictable, how do we find balance? And as we ponder this, we invite you to carry this contemplative spirit with you, cultivating a deeper understanding of both the earth beneath your feet and the profound journey of existence.